Our story opens in a classic fantasy world, full of adventurers and quests. Inside a room, a man with black hair is confronted by his party leader, who asks why he was summoned so suddenly. The black-haired man explains that since the rest of the party was out on a request, he'd planned to take the day off. But the party leader cuts him off with a brutal declaration. Ryuji, as of today, you're kicked out of the party. Ryuji is stunned. Huh? The leader scoffs, sneering. Don't you realize how useless you are in a fight? Ryuji calmly replies that of course he's aware. He's a rearguard support enchanter after all. But the leader rants that just enchanting gear isn't enough to pull his weight, accusing him of failing to produce magic stones to strengthen everyone. He claims they can't expect the same level of work from Ryuji as they do from the party's essential swordsman and mage. His frustration finally boils over as he smashes his fist down, screaming, "Because of you, we're not leveling up!" The leader screams that while the rest of them are second rank, Ryuji is still stuck at third rank, holding the entire party back. He rants that at this rate, they'll never reach the coveted first rank and will be stuck forever because of him. But Ryuji just smirks. The leader reminds him that he was the one who forced Ryuji into the party with his sisters, Minori and Suzu. Then it clicks for Ryuji. He calmly lays out the leader's entire scheme. This was all a pretext to kick him out, and bringing the girls along was part of the plan. The leader's face twists into a nasty grin, saying, "Trash just needs to be thrown out." Ryuji simply says, "I see," but he then turns back, holding a document, demanding the return of every single magic stone he lent to the party. The leader scoffs, "What are you talking about? Those stones are party property." Ryuji clarifies that the contract he had them sign explicitly says the stones were a loan, not a gift. The leader clicks his tongue in annoyance. He begrudgingly throws a pile of magic stones on the floor. Ryuji silently inspects them, but he immediately points out that the sublimation magic stones are missing. He smirks, knowing they're foolishly underestimating an enchanter's expertise with these materials. The leader's face twists with rage, shocked that Ryuji is making such a fuss over some stones. He completely loses his temper, screaming as he violently throws the remaining pouch at Ryuji's head. It smacks him square in the face, but Ryuji, completely unfazed, sarcastically remarks, "Nice throw," confirming that this is everything he was owed. The leader, seething with rage, just spits out a "see ya" before storming off. As he leaves, Ryuji calmly tells him to send his regards to his sisters, Minori and Suzu. Now officially on his own, Ryuji finds a table in the guild hall. He sits and thinks, worried about leaving the two sisters with their hot-headed brother. He figures if they're skilled enough, they can just join him later. He just needs to find a way to contact them. But his thoughts are interrupted by a loud argument between two female adventurers at a nearby table. Before he can make sense of it, some random adventurer gets in his face, accusing him of eavesdropping. But Ryuji couldn't care less, thinking it's none of his business. Meanwhile, the light-haired elf tearfully explains that since she can't fight, she does her best by making attack potions. Her companion snaps back, "So what?" She declares she won't share the rewards she earned in battle with someone who didn't actively fight, calling it a stupid idea. To twist the knife, she announces she's already joining a new party called Berserk, and that the elf is just a nuisance. The elf is left speechless, utterly abandoned in the middle of the guild hall. Ryuji watches this all unfold. He walks over to her table and asks, "Mind if I sit here?" Startled, the tearful elf looks up and asks who he is. Ryuji introduces himself with a slight smile, explaining that he was just kicked out of Berserk, the very same party her former partner is now joining. He then apologizes for unintentionally eavesdropping on their conversation. He properly introduces himself as Ryuji, a third-rank enchanter. The elf, whose name is Lena, explains that she's also a third-rank alchemist. With her head down, she miserably adds that her party just disbanded. Seeing her distress, Ryuji gently offers her a handkerchief. He suggests that since they're both outcasts now, they might as well share a drink. Lena manages a small smile, agreeing to join him even though she's too young for alcohol. And so they settle in. Ryuji explains how he was also told to get lost, pointing out the strange coincidence of their situations. She tells him to just call her Lena, and after a moment of polite hesitation, they agree to use first names. With the ice broken, Ryuji's professional curiosity takes over, and he asks to see one of her potions. Lene's face lights up as she agrees. She carefully places two of her recent creations on the table. Lena warns him that while he can touch the bottle, he must not touch the lid or the pin. She proudly explains this one is a masterpiece, so Ryuji decides to use his magic to analyze its contents. He activates his appraisal skill. The results are astounding. It's a firebomb potion that creates a pillar of flame with a 1-meter radius. Amazing. Lena gets flustered, insisting it can't be better than the magic used by Suzu, the mage from Berserk. But Ryuji's mind is racing. This potion has nearly 4 times the power and duration of the so-called genius Suzu, and with his enchantments, he asks if it's difficult to make, and Lena sadly recalls how her former partner always complained about the ridiculous material costs. But, she says, her expression hardening with resolve. Lena's face lights up with a genuine smile as she declares, "Even if it costs a bit much, I want to create truly good things." She explains that making the best potions she can to help people in need is, to her, a wonderful and noble pursuit. Ryuji is stunned. He places his hand on the table, catching her attention. "You're right," he says. "Perhaps we're kindred spirits." He explains that as an enchanter, he too takes immense pride in his own creations. And that's why, he continues with a confident smile, the moment their true value is recognized without hesitation is the greatest feeling there is. Lene's eyes sparkle, completely moved by his understanding as she leans forward, calling out his name. But their moment is shattered by a loud shout as a bald adventurer slams his fist on the bar, yelling, "Don't mess with me!" The man boasts about being a second-rank adventurer, but the calm bartender simply states that the rare meat he ordered is currently unavailable. Ryuji clicks his tongue in annoyance, complaining that the timing couldn't be worse. Lena nervously asks what they should do, but Ryuji is already thinking. Then an idea strikes. He turns with a sly grin, saying it's only fair to show his own hand when making a proposal. Before Lena can process his words, he snatches her firebomb potion, declaring, "I'm borrowing this." Lena is left utterly stunned. He takes a purposeful step forward. Ryuji calmly walks right up to the loud, bald adventurer. The man turns annoyed and demands to know who Ryuji is. Unfazed, Ryuji simply states that they're trying to enjoy a drink and asks if he could please keep it down. The bald adventurer scoffs, demanding to know Ryuji's rank, while Ryuji calmly replies, "I'm a 3rd-rank enchanter." The man explodes in derision. "A 3rd-rank enchanter? A rearguard who doesn't even fight on the front lines has the gall to talk to me?" Lena watches on, worried. But Ryuji's expression is ice cold. "It seems you're the type to only care about rank," he says coolly. "But I believe other things are just as important." Enraged, the man throws a punch, yelling that Ryuji's nonsense is ruining his drink. But Ryuji is 1 step ahead. "Then let me teach you," he says, enchanting the potion with wind magic. Whirlwind. He recalls the man's taunt about not fighting on the front lines, and prepares to show him exactly what a support class can do. With a flick of his wrist, he sends the enchanted firebomb flying. "This is the pride of us craftsmen," Ryuji declares as the potion detonates in a massive, fiery explosion. The bald adventurer is sent flying, completely overwhelmed by the blast. Just then, a new figure walks into the guild hall, a smug look on his face. His eyes narrow, taking in the scene. While the bald adventurer's eyes are wide with pure terror, he scrambles away, screaming like a coward. The entire guild hall is stunned into silence, unable to believe what they just saw. But the newcomer smirks. It's the party leader from Berserk, and his sisters, Minori and Suzu, are completely starstruck by the display of power. Lena turns to Ryuji, her voice trembling. "Ryuji-san! What was that?" But Ryuji just gives her a gentle smile. "For now," he says, "let's just pay for our drinks and leave." He adds that they can't have a proper conversation in a place like this. Once outside, Ryuji praises her potions again, admitting that if he'd used her firebomb at full power, the entire guild hall would have been obliterated. Lena realizes, "So that really was your enchantment magic, wasn't it?" Ryuji confirms with a confident smile that he enchanted it with his wind magic. He then reveals he didn't just amplify it. He used his magic to focus the blast to prevent collateral damage and even suppressed its power to avoid seriously injuring his opponent. In other words, by combining his enchantment with her alchemy, they can amplify a potion's effects and make it even more versatile. And with that incredible potential in mind, Ryuji makes his proposition. "So, why don't we team up?" Lena is taken aback. A party? But Ryuji clarifies it's more than that. As a fellow craftsman, he's fallen in love with her creations. He envisions them setting up their own workshop, combining their talents to live a life so successful that everyone will envy them. "Let's show the world," he declares, "just how incredible an enchanter and an alchemist can be together." But before Lena can answer, a voice calls out Ryuji's name. It's the Guildmaster, who asks if it's true that Ryuji is quitting Berserk and leaving town for good. Lena, assuming their plan is set, even thanks the Guildmaster for his long-standing support. The Guildmaster seems troubled, stating that while the guild doesn't interfere with internal party policies, Ryuji cuts him off, asking a more pressing question. What are you going to do about Minori and Suzu? Lena recognizes the names, connecting them to the party Berserk. Ryuji casually explains that Berserk's swordsman and mage are his stepsisters, stunning Lena. His expression then darkens as he turns back to the Guildmaster. The Guildmaster looks grim, admitting he's been trying to keep something hidden from the two girls. And whatever that secret is, it's clearly a heavy burden. With a heavy sigh, Ryuji entrusts the matter to him. I understand. I'll leave it in your hands. The Guildmaster then asks their plans, and Lena explains they're going to a quiet town to set up a workshop together. He accepts their decision, waving them off. I'm sure we'll meet again. Leave Minori and Suzu to me. They thank him warmly, and Lena reveals the Guildmaster's name is Ilman as she wishes him well. And so their journey begins. Lena seems a bit hesitant, asking if he's really sure about their destination, the city of Zarushutat. Ryuji explains it's the perfect location, situated on a major road and close to a magic stone mine, making it ideal for their workshop. He notes it'll take about half a month to walk there, a long journey they're undertaking just to save money. After all, Ryuji points out, they've both been kicked out of their parties and have no source of income. But with a confident smile, he reassures her, what we lack in money, we have in time. Let's take it easy. Lena's face lights up with a gentle smile, agreeing to his plan. Well then, Ryuji says, I'll be in your care from now on, officially marking the start of their new partnership. And so their journey begins. But elsewhere, under the cover of night, a group of royal knights is being watched from the trees. A band of thugs emerges, their leader sneering that the knights are well-dressed thanks to the people's blood tax. A young knight immediately draws his sword, shouting, Bandits! And ordering someone named Lady Tsetsi to get behind them for protection. The bandit leader's grin widens as he issues a simple threat. I won't say it twice. Leave all your valuables. The noble lady is frozen in terror. Meanwhile, far from that dangerous encounter, Ryuji announces they'll be camping out for the night. Lena realizes with excitement that their half-month journey is almost over. They'll finally arrive in Zarushutat tomorrow. As they settle down, Lena asks Ryuji a personal question. Why did he choose to become an enchanter? The campfire crackles. Ryuji begins his story, explaining that his hometown is in the Sakura Empire, on the far eastern edge of the continent. He describes how the country is named for its beautiful sakura flowers, which would be in full bloom right about now. But his expression darkens as he admits that due to a civil war, he doesn't know if that beautiful scenery even exists anymore. Lena's taken aback, asking, a civil war? Ryuji confirms it, revealing that he lost his parents in the conflict when he was just 12 years old. In a painful flashback, we see a young Ryuji leading Minori and Suzu through the flames, explaining that he fled the country with them after they too lost their family in the war. Lena quietly expresses her sympathy for his hardship, and Ryuji can only agree. But a small smile appears on his face as he recalls how a person he calls sensei found them, took them in, and taught them the skills they needed to survive. Lena repeats the name, Sensei? Ryuji explains with a wry smile that he never actually learned his mentor's real name, so that's just what he calls him. In a flashback to a mysterious cloaked figure, Ryuji recalls how his strict sensei taught him basic combat and magic, and was the one who discovered his aptitude for enchantment. Thanks to him, Ryuji says with a confident smile, it's become my true calling. He then drops a bombshell that leaves Lena stunned. His mysterious mentor was an elf, just like her, and that, he admits, is another reason why I couldn't just leave you behind back at the guild. He couldn't bear to watch someone with her talent be used and discarded by those who couldn't see her true worth. He suddenly apologizes, admitting his actions were for his own self-satisfaction, but Lena quickly tells him not to bow his head. She reassures him, saying they're kindred spirits and he shouldn't worry about it. With a radiant smile, she confesses, besides, I was just so happy that you spoke to me back then. Her heartfelt words leave him speechless. Ryuji smiles gently, relieved. Is that so? Then I'm glad. Changing the subject, Ryuji offers to show Lena his magic stones, just as she showed him her potions, and she's absolutely thrilled by the idea. With a soft clink, he reveals them. Lena marvels at the 3 beautifully cut stones, which look more like precious gems. Ryuji explains that the quality of the cut directly impacts their power. He identifies them: the adamantine stone, the severe cold stone, and the magic sealing stone. But as he starts to explain, Lena's sharp elven ears suddenly pick something up. He asks what's wrong, and she gestures towards the trees in the distance. She can hear the clash of steel and angry voices. She can't make out the words, but from the tone, she's certain it's bandits. Ryuji's expression hardens. At this distance, he knows this is now their problem. Ryuji quickly lays out the plan. If they're bandits, they could be the next targets. He decides they must intervene and asks Lena if she's ready to fight. Without a moment's hesitation, Lena agrees, telling him they need to hurry. Ryuji grins, ready for action. He declares this is the perfect chance to show her the true power of his magic stones in a real battle. They race towards the sound of the fight. Back at the ambush, one of the knights is struggling to defend himself. The sneering bandit leader taunts him. "What's wrong, getting a little slow?" But the young knight stands firm in front of Lady Tsetsi, yelling at his men not to falter and to protect her at all costs. As Ryuji and Lena arrive at the edge of the clearing, Ryuji spots the scene and asks Lena if she can draw the bandits' attention. "Leave it to me," she says, as a brilliant magic circle materializes at her command. Lena unleashes a massive fire arrow, sending a blazing projectile hurtling towards the unsuspecting thugs. The fire arrow finds its mark, and a bandit is instantly engulfed in flames, letting out a blood-curdling scream. The bandit leader whips around in shock, realizing they're not alone. "Reinforcements!" Stepping out from the darkness with a confident smirk, Ryuji announces his arrival. "Mind if I join in?" One of the thugs, wearing a skull-like mask, snarls and charges forward. "You!" Ryuji calmly raises his staff, and the adamantine stone at its tip begins to glow ominously. The bandit's sword slams into an invisible wall and shatters into pieces, the sheer force of the impact stopping him dead in his tracks. Unimpressed, Ryuji scoffs internally. This level of skill, it's child's play compared to Minori's swordsmanship. Seeing an opportunity, another bandit sneaks up from behind, shouting, "Your back is wide open!" But without even turning around, Ryuji effortlessly sends the attacker flying backwards with a powerful, unseen force. The young knight and Lady Tsetsi can only stare, completely stunned by this sudden and overwhelming display of power. The bandit leader can only stare in disbelief. "What? My sword was repelled?" Ryuji calmly reveals the source of his power, the adamantine stone. Its effect is the complete nullification of all physical attacks against its wielder. With the close-range threats neutralized, Lena steps in to clean up, casting spark web to ensnare the remaining bandits. In an instant, the entire group is captured. "Is this all of them?" Ryuji asks. Lena checks on the royal guards, who can only stammer out their thanks, still in awe. The noble lady they saved finally steps forward. "My apologies for the late introduction. I am Tsetsi." Her knight panics, shouting, "You mustn't!" But it's too late. Ryuji, ever the smooth operator, diffuses the tension, telling her not to worry and that they'll handle the captured bandits from here. The young knight starts to speak, still wary of the powerful strangers, but Lena steps forward, kindly offering them a healing potion. The knight admits they have minor wounds, but hesitates, suspicious of accepting medicine from someone they just met. Ryuji, ever perceptive, understands their caution completely. He looks down at a small scratch he got on his own arm during the fight. Turning to a confused Lena, he says her timing is perfect. He takes the potion from her hand and pours it directly onto his own wound to demonstrate its safety. Showing his instantly healed arm, he calmly asks, "There's nothing suspicious in it. Do you need it?" The other guards immediately clamor for one, and Lady Tsetsi, now cloaked, steps in with a smile, assuring everyone that she will take full responsibility. The young knight still seems hesitant, but Lady Tsetsi's mind is made up. With the situation calmed, Ryuji formally introduces himself and Lena, explaining they plan to open a workshop in Zarushutat. He apologizes for any trouble, admitting he assumed they were dealing with nobility and tried to act accordingly. Lady Tsetsi apologizes in turn for using their potion without asking, adding, "But you really gave me a shock, drinking it so suddenly." Ryuji understands their caution, saying, "It's natural to be wary. For a knight, that's the correct course of action. However, it doesn't feel good to have Lena's goodwill doubted." Lena looks up at him, touched. She smiles warmly, saying, "You're so true to yourself, Ryuji." With the bandits captured and the nobles safe, Ryuji decides it's time to rest up for the final leg of their journey. The next day, they finally arrive at their destination. the massive port city of Zarushutat, a key fortress of the Vaishtine kingdom. The guild receptionist, Anne, greets them with a strained smile, saying, or at least, that's what it was supposed to be. Looking around the desolate guild hall, Ryuji remarks, "This city isn't nearly as lively as I expected." At the counter, he confirms their location with Anne, who replies with a weary, "Yes, this is Zarushutat." She explains that the city's prosperity was built on its roads to the north and east, and a rich nearby mine. It was once a vital transportation hub, a bustling port connecting the kingdom. Lena catches the past tense in her voice. Was? Anne reveals the grim truth. A year ago, a massive earthquake destroyed the port, and the local mine's magic stone output collapsed, turning it into a ruin. To make matters worse, new trade routes were established elsewhere, causing the flow of people and goods into Zarushutat to dry up completely. Ryuji's face darkens. Their grand plan to open a workshop just hit a major, unexpected roadblock. Despite the grim news, Anne asks if they still want to process their transfer. Lena immediately defers to Ryuji, trusting his judgment completely. Ryuji looks hesitant for a moment, but he reveals they have a specific reason they must transfer to this city. Lena recalls how many times Anne tried to warn them away, but her faith is absolute, declaring that Ryuji's reason is what they must prioritize. Touched by her unwavering support, Ryuji simply smiles and thanks her, and with that, their transfer is complete. They're officially adventurers of Zarushutat. Wasting no time, Lena asks Anne for help finding a property for their workshop. A knowing smile spreads across Anne's face. It seems she's one step ahead, introducing them to a man named Toru who can connect them with the Commerce Guild. Toru leads them on a long walk to the property. He explains that while it's far from the city center, the rent is cheap and it's perfectly suited for a workshop. Finally, they arrive. Toru presents them with a large old brick building. Lena is impressed by its size, while Ryuji thinks it might be a little too spacious. He asks to see the inside, and Toru happily agrees. The interior, however, is completely abandoned, covered in dust and cobwebs. But it does have the basic structure needed for an alchemy workshop. Ryuji asks for Lena's opinion, and she's surprisingly optimistic, noting its proximity to the forest makes it a great find, despite needing a serious cleaning. With Lena's approval, Ryuji immediately tells Toru they'll take the workshop. Toru is surprised by their quick decision, but says he'll head back to the Commerce Guild to prepare the contract. Ryuji asks if they can start cleaning and renovating while he's gone, and Toru happily agrees. As a bonus, Toru offers them a massive pile of lumber outside, though Lena notes it looks incredibly heavy. But Ryuji has a solution, revealing another of his trump cards, the magic stone of Herculean strength. He places a hand on a log and effortlessly lifts the massive timber, telling a stunned Lena that with this stone, manual labor is no problem at all. Inspired, Lena's eyes sparkle as she declares that she'll handle all the interior work, since furniture making and repairs are her specialty. With their roles decided, they agree to get started right away. Lena summons her tools in a magic circle, ready to transform their new workshop. Using her magic, Lena instantly crafts high-quality furniture from the raw lumber. She proudly shows off her handiwork to an impressed Ryuji, but the process is clearly draining, and she quickly collapses from overexertion. Sometime later, they stand back to admire their progress. They've built a full-scale alchemy station and furnished the workshop. Just then, Toru from the Commerce Guild returns and stops dead in his tracks. He stares in utter disbelief at the completely transformed interior. "This is incredible!" he exclaims, amazed they did so much so quickly, while Lena proudly puffs out her chest. Shaking off his shock, Toru presents them with the official contract for their new workshop. But Lena's sharp eyes notice the large basket on his back, and she curiously asks if he's carrying vegetables. Toru looks flustered, explaining that the vegetables are for a personal charity case of his. "Charity?" Lena echoes, confused. Suddenly, a rustling sound from the nearby woods draws their attention. Peeking out from behind a tree are two young elf girls. Toru's face lights up as he greets them, announcing he's brought more vegetables today. The older girl thanks Big Brother Toru politely, then nudges her younger sister. The little girl beams and gives a cheerful, "Thank you!" Lena smiles, finding the scene adorable, and asks Toru who the children are. Ryuji steps in, saying it's time he properly introduced them to Lena. He explains that the two orphans live next door, struggling to grow crops on their family's barren land. Lena listens with a heavy heart as Ryuji explains the girls are trying to grow anything they can. Toru gently shows the older sister's calloused hands. "They're trying their best," he says, but it's not enough. That's why I share what I can. Seeing their struggle, Lena looks from the girl's hands to Ryuji, a sudden understanding dawning on her. Ryuji stares out at the desolate patch of earth. The soil is terrible. A bad field. His mind flashes back to his own past, a desperate refugee, sharing scraps of food with his starving sisters. He turns back, the memory fueling a new resolve in his eyes. All right then. With a confident smile, Ryuji presents the glowing adamantine stone. We'll use my enchantment to build them a proper field. Lena and the two orphans can only stare, speechless at his bold claim. Toru is completely lost. Make a field with enchantment? Ryuji-san, what does that even mean? The older sister looks up, confused. But we already have a field? Lena just smiles, completely trusting him, but everyone else is baffled. Ryuji looks over the barren, patchy earth. Allow me to rephrase. I'm not making a new field, he explains. I'm going to use a spell to make this field and its vegetables much, much healthier. With a determined look, he says, all right then. He steps onto the desolate plot of land. Finding the center, he declares, right about here should be good. And with a single powerful stomp, he drives his heel into the hard-packed dirt. Holding out the glowing adamantine stone, he smiles. This should do it. Toru can only stammer, you're just burying a stone? I've buried the enchanted magic stone, Ryuji explains calmly. Now, we just have to wait and see the effects tomorrow. Lena turns to the still confused sisters. Let's cast a spell together. But the older sister just asks, how? With a radiant smile, Lena begins the chant, telling the land to be full of life. The sisters agree, their spirits lifted. Together, their voices join in a simple but heartfelt spell, wishing for the barren earth to heal. But elsewhere, tensions are exploding. Minori grabs her brother, the party leader, by the collar, demanding he finally explain what really happened with Ryuji. If Ryuji had been there, she shouts, we wouldn't have struggled on that quest and been forced to retreat. The party leader claims Ryuji left on his own, but Suzu isn't buying it. Lies, she says coldly. Ryuji would never abandon us. He stammers, complaining that his body feels unusually heavy, but Minori cuts off his pathetic excuses. Pointing to his shield, she exposes the truth. It's because you don't have the magic stone of Herculean strength anymore, isn't it? You've always relied on Ryuji's power, Minori sneers, and that's why you're in this pathetic state now. Desperate to shift the blame, the party leader points at another party member. You're the one who wanted to kick him out. You were just afraid your share of the profits would go down. One of the other members nervously backs him up. Well, yeah. Marie was being so annoying about it, the leader had no choice. The woman, Marie, whirls on him, furious. What? Are you seriously trying to blame this on me? But Minori's mind flashes back to their failed quest, where she and Suzu were left hanging helplessly in a trap. We need to get out of here, Suzu had warned. There could be monsters nearby. Minori clenches her fist, remembering her powerlessness. I know. Snapping back to the present, her decision is made. Suzu and I are leaving this party. Without another word, the two sisters turn their backs on their brother and walk away. Marie panics, turning to the party leader. Guy, what are we going to do? But he just screams at her to shut up. Defeated and utterly humiliated, Guy can only grit his teeth and curse. Later that night, Minori and Suzu arrive at the Guildmaster's residence. Guildmaster Ilman greets them, immediately noticing their ragged state. Well, this is a surprise. You two look completely worn out. Minori fumes, explaining, Guy and the others screwed up so badly we were forced to retreat. Then, a sudden realization dawns on her. They completely underestimated Ryuji's enchantments. Guildmaster, you knew this would happen, didn't you? Ilman looks away, his expression pained. More or less. So what about Guy's party? Suzu answers bluntly, we left them in the dungeon, we've quit. Hearing this, Ilman nods. I see. Then this is perfect timing. He presents them with 2 letters, insisting, read these, right here, right now. They're from Ryuji, he explains. He entrusted them to me before he left town. I'm sorry I couldn't give them to you in front of Guy. Suzu's eyes light up as she reads, He's waiting for us in Zarushutat! What should we do, Minori? Minori doesn't hesitate for a second. a determined smile spreading across her face. Of course! We're going to find Ryuji. The next morning in Zarushutat, Ryuji stretches, feeling refreshed after a good night's sleep, but his peace is shattered by an urgent voice from outside. He recognizes the voice instantly. That's Rana, the older sister. It's Rana, and she's practically vibrating with excitement. Ryuji-san! The field! You have to see the field! The commotion wakes up a sleepy Lena, who wonders what's going on so early. Rana practically drags them outside, shouting, Hurry! Both of you, hurry! She leads them through the brush, to reveal an unbelievable sight. Overnight, the barren land has exploded into a lush, vibrant paradise teeming with life. Even Ryuji is stunned. I knew it would work, but I never imagined it would be this effective. The younger sister exclaims that Ryuji's spell is amazing, while Rana is in disbelief that it all happened in a single night. Ryuji explains that the stone he buried was enchanted with the power of Puel's magic stone, a gem specifically designed to promote crop growth. Lena realizes Puel is the god of the harvest and asks if he's never used that stone before. Ryuji confirms it, since adventurers are usually hired to destroy plants, not grow them. Suddenly, a loud growl breaks the silence. Seeing the hungry child, Lena brightly suggests they all make breakfast together to celebrate. The sisters eagerly agree, and Lena sends them off to harvest some fresh vegetables from their brand new garden. With a plan in place, Ryuji announces it's time to harvest, and the girls cheer in excitement. They head into their new paradise and return with a bountiful harvest, their faces beaming with joy. Soon they're all gathered together, ready to enjoy the first meal made from the fruits of their miraculous new land. The first meal is a salad made from the freshest vegetables imaginable, and in a flash it's gone. The two sisters sigh in contentment, Rana saying she's full while her younger sibling simply says, I'm so happy. Lena smiles warmly, formally thanking everyone for the meal as Ryuji looks on, pleased. Suddenly, a sharp knock echoes through the workshop. The door bursts open to reveal a stunned Toru who blurts out, The crops in the field. Was that really from the stone you buried yesterday? The younger sister's face lights up as she happily greets him. Toru smiles, surprised to see everyone gathered. Oh, Rana and Lena, you're here too. Lena explains that thanks to Ryuji's magic stone, they harvested a bounty of vegetables and were just enjoying breakfast together. The sisters eagerly confirm her story, exclaiming how delicious it was and that they're both completely full. Toru smiles, relieved. I see. In that case, I don't have to worry. But Ryuji's expression is grim. Unfortunately, Toru, it's not a permanent solution. When I was harvesting, he explains, I noticed the soil itself was in even worse condition than yesterday. He reveals that Puel's magic stone forces growth by aggressively draining all the nutrients, which will eventually leave the land completely barren. Lena's eyes light up. Then, Ryuji, is it my turn to shine? He asks if she can create a soil improvement potion, and she confidently confirms she can forage the materials from the forest. Toru is still trying to process everything. Lena beams, standing beside a smirking Ryuji. It means you can leave it to us. We've got this. Ryuji turns to the sisters. That magic stone is a gift for you both, and Lena will help protect your field. Lena quickly adds, but in return, would you mind lending me a small part of that field? Lena explains that as an alchemist, she needs to cultivate a variety of plants for her potions. Rana agrees to the arrangement, but she warns them there's one problem. Wild boars frequently come and destroy anything planted in that specific area. I see, Ryuji says with a smirk. Then it's a simple matter. He pulls out another of his treasures, the magic stone of the mud core. Placing it on the ground, the earth itself begins to rise and take shape around it. I, Ryuji, command you, he declares. Your name is Spriggan. Drive away any beast that harms the people and plants of this field. In an instant, a massive earth golem stands before them. Lena is completely stunned. You can create golems with your enchantments? She's completely flustered, thinking that if he can create something so powerful this easily, it makes her entire profession look pointless. Turning to the astonished Toru, Ryuji calmly explains, and with that, the field problem is solved. Rana, filled with a new sense of purpose, declares, From now on, we'll help too. Please don't think of this as just charity. Toru is visibly moved by her words. With a grateful smile, he simply says, Thank you. Ryuji then lays out a business plan. After Rana and Lena take their shares, the Commerce Guild will handle harvesting and selling the rest, ensuring the sisters a steady income. Lena reassures the girls that they'll be able to eat their fill every day now, but Rana is still overwhelmed, asking if they truly deserve all this. Ryuji gently pats the younger sister's head. "Don't worry about it," he says. "We all help each other when we're in trouble." A brief flashback shows a younger, desperate Ryuji revealing, "A long time ago, I was in the same situation as you." He smiles warmly at the memory. "And back then I received a lot of help." With tears of pure joy, the two sisters thank him from the bottom of their hearts. With the sisters' future secured, Ryuji asks Lena what's next, but she insists they focus on his goals, since he's done so much for everyone else. Ryuji considers this for a moment, and an idea sparks. He needs to talk to Toru. He finds Toru and asks about a nearby abandoned mine, which Toru confirms isn't a restricted area. However, he warns them that the mine is completely depleted of magic stones, which is why it fell into ruin. He doubts they'll find anything of value there. Lena reflects on her journey, how she was cruelly abandoned by her last partner, only to find a new one in Ryuji. Stealing her resolve, she vows to do everything in her power to support him in return. And so, their next destination is set, the Barun mine. She's fired up and ready to go, but her enthusiasm immediately causes her to trip. "What's going on?" she cries, as Ryuji grabs her arm just as the ground gives way beneath them. "No time to explain," he yells. "Just run!" The entire mountainside seems to be collapsing around them. Just moments before the disaster, they were carefully navigating the treacherous path to the mine. Suddenly, Lena trips on the uneven ground. Ryuji rushes to check on her, but she's more worried about him, flustered that she's been on edge about getting hurt. She quickly reassures him that she's fine, determined not to be a burden. After all, she made a vow to be a strong partner, a far cry from the helpless girl she used to be. But even so, she can't ignore the fact that as they approach the mine, the footing is becoming increasingly dangerous. Ryuji explains that a massive earthquake recently devastated the region, making landslides a common occurrence. Hearing the immense danger, Lena finally asks, "Forgive me for being nosy, Ryuji, but why exactly are we going to a place like this?" Ryuji acknowledges her concern, recalling how both Anne and Toru warned him the mine was depleted. "But I'm going because I want to bet on even the slightest possibility," he explains. He knows the chances of finding anything are close to zero, but he's accepted the danger and judged that the risk is worth taking. His words strike a chord with Lena. Filled with new resolve, she marches ahead, declaring she won't give up just because something might not be useful. But in that exact moment, the ground gives way. And it's not just a landslide. A monstrous face emerges from the rubble. Lena is paralyzed with fear. But Ryuji is already on it, activating the magic stone of adamant. The adamant stone throws up an impenetrable barrier, effortlessly repelling the monster's charge. But that's not all. Ryuji has enchanted one of Lena's potions. He unleashes a supercharged spark web, electrocuting the creatures where they stand. "Trap them," Ryuji commands coolly. "Don't let them escape." Before they can recover, he's already casting his next spell, Freeze Bullet. The monsters can only watch in terror. A devastating barrage of enchanted ice shards completely annihilates them. Lena is left speechless, whispering, "Ah, amazing." With the threat gone, Ryuji immediately checks on her. She stammers that she's okay, just startled by the sudden ambush. Lena notes how powerful his freeze bullet was for a low-level spell, but Ryuji explains, "That's the power of my enchanted staff." Lena asks if his staff is an ancient artifact, but Ryuji explains he simply enchanted the gemstone to amplify his magic. He then offers to enchant Lena's staff too, and she eagerly accepts. Ryuji says they'll decide on the enchantment later, calling it a choice that will determine their fate. Deeper inside the mine, they arrive at a fork in the road. Consulting a map, Lena explains the right path goes deeper, while the left leads to a small open area. To make a decision, she raises her staff to cast Magic Detection. The results are in. The left path is absolutely swarming with goblins. Hearing this, Ryuji's choice is made. "We're going left," he declares, heading straight for the goblin horde. As they power up, Ryuji says they'll subjugate the goblins for a guild report while they explore. Lena agrees, ready for a fight. Lena notes that according to the map, this tunnel should be a dead end. She asks Ryuji what he's found, but he replies that there's nothing remarkable here. Another bust. Ryuji admits that while he knew the mine was depleted, he was still hoping to find a new ore vein or something of value. Just as Lena begins to think they were wrong, she spots something. "What is it?" Ryuji asks. She points to a small crack in the wall, where a faint light is leaking through. Ryuji is taken aback. He worries that breaking the wall could cause a collapse, but Lena confidently tells him to leave it to her. Focusing her power, she begins to chant, calling upon the spirits of the earth. With a low rumble, the wall crumbles away. "Not bad," Ryuji says, impressed. Lena explains she only softened the earth around the light to prevent a collapse. The dust settles, revealing a dark new tunnel. Ryuji grins, realizing this path didn't exist when the mine was originally mapped. He theorizes that a massive, unrecorded earthquake must have connected this tunnel to a deeper part of the mine. Lena adds that the softness of the surrounding earth supports his theory. "I did it!" she exclaims, beaming with pride. They step into the newly discovered passage. As they venture deeper, Lena marvels at the path. "I agree," Ryuji replies, his eyes fixed ahead. The walls are studded with glowing crystals, unlike anything they've seen in the mine so far. The walls are covered in shining ore. Ryuji realizes this means there's a high probability of an undiscovered ore vein deeper inside. Lena admits she's getting a little nervous with anticipation. Ryuji muses that even an empty cave would be interesting, but Lena insists she wants a good result to report to the guild. Suddenly, a brilliant light ahead makes her shield her eyes. They reach the end of the tunnel and look down into a massive cavern filled with enormous glowing crystal formations. "You've got to be kidding me," Ryuji mutters, completely stunned. Lena asks if he knew this was here all along, but Ryuji admits even he couldn't have predicted a find this massive. He immediately realizes this is a far greater harvest than he anticipated, and reporting it could earn them an extra reward from the Commerce Guild. Lena is completely captivated by the sight. "It's so beautiful!" Ryuji gazes down at the vast crystal field below. He kneels down to inspect the quality of their find. Using his appraisal skill, he confirms it's not just quantity, but quality too. He realizes this discovery is big enough to completely revitalize Zarushutat's economy by reopening the supply of magic stones. But Lena's sharp eyes spot something else. "Ryuji-san," she points out, "it looks like the path continues even further." She asks if they should explore deeper, but Ryuji decides against it, citing the risk of a potential collapse. Lena agrees, suggesting they head back and scout for other similar veins on their way out. But from the darkness, they are being watched. Suddenly, Ryuji yanks Lena out of the way. A massive boulder smashes into the spot where she was just standing. Lena is speechless, but Ryuji is already assessing the situation, asking if she's hurt. He reveals that he'd given her the magic stone of adamantine for protection, but even that wouldn't have stood a chance against an attack of this magnitude. Lena is baffled. With her sharp elven hearing, she should have heard it coming. But Ryuji is focused on something far more important. This wasn't a random rockfall. Someone threw that boulder with clear intent to kill. Her eyes widen in terror, as a colossal, monstrous figure emerges from the shadows of the cavern. But Ryuji isn't scared, he just smirks. "So, it was you." The creature is a hulking behemoth, a mountain of muscle and rage. Ryuji calmly identifies their attacker. "A goblin hero, so you're the boss of this little group." He turns to a stunned Lena. "I need your staff." Lena is terrified. "You're going to fight it? That thing is at least a second-rank monster." Ryuji remains calm. "I know. I'm counting on you for support." The goblin hero glares down, realizing they've seen through its ambush. With a flick of his wrist, Ryuji draws 2 daggers, ready for a fight. "Lena, I'll handle the front line. I'm counting on you for support." He stares down the beast, because this thing has no intention of letting us leave here alive. With a guttural roar, the goblin hero summons its underlings. An endless horde of goblins swarms out of the darkness. Lena unleashes a torrent of magic, desperately trying to hold them back, shouting, "No matter how many I defeat, more just keep coming!" "Sorry," she yells to Ryuji, "but you'll have to hold them off until I can deal with that big guy." The goblin hero smirks, knowing it's not unusual for a high-rank monster to command minions. But Ryuji senses there's more to it, thinking, that's not the full story here. He confirms his suspicion as his sharpness-enchanted dagger fails to even scratch the monster's tough hide. He could end this with a single, powerful magic stone, but he hesitates, knowing the blast could bring the entire cavern down on top of them. His eyes narrow. Even with the goblin numbers dwindling, he knows they're in a battle of attrition they can't win. Time is running out. He needs a new plan, and fast. Suddenly, Ryuji dashes forward. He realizes that with the goblin hero's immense power, even his adamantine enchantment wouldn't be enough to defend against it. He can't let this fight drag on. He has to stop its movements, even for just a moment. And then, An idea strikes him. Instead of his weapon, he focuses his magic on the shattered rocks littering the cavern floor. He enchants the debris with whirlwind magic, launching a blinding storm of rock shards directly into the goblin hero's face. With a confident smirk, he says, "That should be enough to blind it." Seizing the opportunity, he yells, "Lena, now!" Hearing his call, Lena unleashes her full power, commanding, "Magic essence, gather before me and pierce that thing." A colossal bolt of lightning crashes down upon the blinded behemoth. Ryuji smirks, confident this will finish the job. As expected, this should be effective. The goblin horde is stunned, but as the light fades, the goblin hero stands completely unharmed, a wicked grin spreading across its face as the lightning arcs harmlessly around a glowing necklace. Lena is in utter disbelief. "No way! It didn't work?" Ryuji's sharp eyes immediately pinpoint the problem. "That necklace, it's enchanted with anti-magic," he realizes with dawning horror. "That means magic attacks are useless, and it's why the enchantments on my dagger had no effect." Lena looks desperate. "I thought I could use my potions if magic failed, but all I have are explosives and poisons. I should have brought something that could freeze it," she laments, but her words spark a new idea in Ryuji's mind. "Freeze?" Ryuji's mind races. "So that's the trick. If the smoke is flowing deeper into the cavern, then my hunch is right." He turns to Lena with a new plan. "Can you use your magic to soften the ground and trap it? We need to stop its movement so we can get past it." Lena is hesitant. "Get past it? But what if it's a dead end?" The goblin hero looms over them, but Ryuji is unshaken. "It'll be fine." He gives her a reassuring smile. "Trust me. You and I are in this together." Lena is taken aback. Stealing her resolve, she declares, "All right, I'm trusting you." She channels her magic, a beautiful snowflake-like sigil spreading across the cavern floor. "Spirit of the earth, turn the ground beneath that goblin to mud." The spell hits instantly. The goblin hero's massive feet sink into the earth, trapping it in a mud swamp. Ryuji smirks, clenching his fist. "Perfect." With the monster stuck, Ryuji taunts it. "Now for this." He shouts, "Let's go, Lena." Without waiting for a reply, he grabs her hand and pulls her along. "No time to talk, just run." The object he threw, a magic stone, explodes in a flash of icy energy, freezing the goblin hero solid. Panting, they finally come to a stop. They've made it through to the other side. Lena is amazed. "There was another exit." But Ryuji just smiles. "Just as I thought." He explains that he'd felt a breeze blowing through the cavern earlier and gambled that it was leading to an exit. Curiosity getting the better of her, Lena asks, "By the way, what was that magic stone you threw?" Ryuji reveals it was the magic stone of severe cold, one of the powerful artifacts he found on his journey. When activated, it flash freezes everything around it. Lena is still trying to wrap her head around it. But the goblin hero's anti-magic necklace should have blocked any pure magic. So how did that work? Ryuji smiles knowingly. "Lena, you seem to have a slight misunderstanding about what enchantment truly is." He explains that while magic is born from a person's inner power, enchantment is a technique that harnesses the raw, untamed forces of nature itself. In that way, he concludes, it's actually quite similar to your alchemy. With the lesson over, Ryuji calmly suggests they head back inside, but Lena is horrified. "Go back in? But isn't the severe cold still active?" He then pulls out another artifact. "The cold should be weakening by now. Once we confirm the goblin hero is dead, we'll use this magic stone of heatwave to clear the air." Lena is completely flustered. "You have so many convenient items. You're practically an alchemist." Back at the cavern entrance, the massive block of ice is already beginning to fracture. Ryuji admires his handiwork, calling it a magnificent ice carving, while Len can only stare, speechless at the sheer power on display. With the threat neutralized, Ryuji gets down to business. "All right, time to collect the magic cores from this behemoth and all the other goblins." Magic cores are the crystallized hearts of monsters, a valuable resource for any adventurer. "After we finish mapping the cavern," Ryuji says, "we'll head back to the guild as planned." A short while later, they arrive back at the Zarushutat guild hall. "We're back." The receptionist, Anne, greets them. "Welcome back, Ryuji, Lena." She asks if they had any luck at the Barun mine, and Ryuji casually replies, "We did. We found a brand new vein. Lena excitedly presents their findings, a fully completed map and a hefty bag of magic cores. Anne is stunned by the sheer quantity. "Did you run into hobgoblins?" she asks. Ryuji calmly corrects her. "No, it was a goblin hero." Her brain completely short-circuits. "Huh?" She struggles to process the impossible news. "Hold on, a new vein and a goblin hero?" But it's too late. Their report has caught the attention of everyone in the guild hall. Did they just say they found a new vein? And that they defeated a goblin hero? The crowd erupts surrounding the duo. "Seriously, you guys are incredible!" Hope spreads like wildfire. "A new vein could revive Zarushutat," another adventurer marvels, "and these two took down the monster?" But Ryuji and Lena remain completely unfazed by the commotion. Anne takes a deep breath. Composing herself, she officially accepts their map as proof of their achievement. She explains, "Because this is such an exceptional case, we'll need to verify it before we can hand over the reward." As the guild celebrates the good news, Anne brings up a practical matter. "By the way, you two haven't registered a party name yet, have you?" Ryuji turns to his partner. "Lena, any ideas?" And a spark of inspiration hits her. She smiles. "How about this? It's a word from an ancient language that means the artisans." And with a final stamp, their new party is official. Ryuji thanks Anne for all her help, but she insists the pleasure is all hers, thanking them for their massive contribution to the city. She explains that thanks to them, Zarushutat is finally starting to regain its former vitality. The other adventurers agree, hailing Ryuji and Lena as the saviors of their city and begging them to keep up the good work. With a warm smile, Anne tells them she's looking forward to what they'll do next. As they head for the exit, Ryuji proudly declares the official start of their new party, the Artisans. Lena follows close behind, beaming with pride. They seal their new partnership with a fist bump. Outside, Ryuji suggests they take it easy for the rest of the day, but Lena already has plans to go shopping for groceries tomorrow. "To the market it is, then!" Ryuji agrees, but a sudden familiar shout stops them in their tracks. "Found you!" cries a cheerful voice. It's his stepsister, Minori. Ryuji smiles. "You must be tired from your long journey. I'm surprised you came so suddenly." "Where's Suzu?" he asks. Minori explains she had some business to take care of and will be along later. Minori's attention then shifts to the elf standing beside her brother. Ryuji introduces her. "This is Lena, the alchemist I mentioned in my letter." Lena adds that they'd worked together on a request before. Minori recalls how difficult things got for their old party after Marie joined, and Lena listens with a knowing, pained expression. But Lena smiles warmly, saying that thanks to Ryuji, she's now able to face a new goal. "I see," Minori says, taking it all in. Suddenly, she remembers why she was in such a hurry. "Oh, that's right, brother!" She explains that since arriving in Zarushutat, she's run into some people while searching for him. She recounts how she found the people they'd rescued earlier, Lady Tsetsi and her knight, being attacked in the forest. The scene cuts to the present, where the young knight is apologizing to Ryuji's group for the sudden visit. He addresses his companion formally as Lady Tsetsi. The knight then turns to Ryuji and Lena, apologizing for not being able to properly introduce themselves during their last chaotic meeting. The noble lady then reveals her true identity. "I am the first princess of this country, Tsetsiri von Weishutain." Both Ryuji and Lena are completely stunned by the revelation. The princess explains that she has come to them with a formal request. As Ryuji begins to accept, Minori suddenly interrupts him. She proudly presents a massive basket overflowing with herbs, shouting a huge amount. A flustered Ryuji tries to quiet her down, reminding her this is a secret request from the princess, to which she just cheerfully agrees. After Minori's chaotic interruption, the group finally moves to a more private location to hear the princess out. They settle into a quiet room at the inn. Tea is served. As everyone takes their seats, Princess Tsetsiri tells them to make themselves comfortable. But Ryuji cuts straight to the chase, asking, "Your Highness, what is the request you have for us?" The young knight starts to speak, saying, "Ryuji-san, allow me to explain." But the princess firmly interjects, stating, "No, this is my request, so I will be the one to explain it." The knight respectfully backs down. With the room silent and all eyes on her, Princess Tsetsiri begins with a grave warning. "First, I must ask that you never speak of what I am about to tell you to anyone." Ryuji formally accepts the terms "understood." He quickly checks on his companions. The princess then reveals the grave truth. The other day, my father fell ill. Lena gasps, realizing the implication. Your father? You mean His Majesty, the king? Princess Chetsuri confirms their fears. Yes. While this has been kept from the public, my father is currently bedridden. Lena quickly connects the dots, asking, So your request is for some kind of medicine? Ryuji confirms, Exactly. She explains that even the royal physicians are completely stumped, unable to even name the disease. That's when I remembered you two, she says, and decided to seek your help. Ryuji processes the dire situation, but Lena raises a hand to interrupt. With all due respect, she states firmly, I cannot accept this request without more information. Can you please describe His Majesty's symptoms in detail? The princess agrees, beginning to list the symptoms, but before she can even finish, Lena's eyes widen in shock. Ryuji is just as stunned by her sudden insight. Minori, however, is completely lost. She turns to her brother, asking if they've figured something out. Ryuji grimly confirms they have. Lena cuts straight to the point, telling the princess, Your Highness, that is no illness. Chetsuri is taken aback. What do you mean? She asks, confused. The symptoms you described, Lena reveals, are the work of a powerful curse. She explains that while a doctor would be stumped, a priest or an experienced adventurer would have recognized the signs immediately. The single word hangs in the air, filling the princess with dread. A curse. Panicked, Chetsuri declares she must rush to the church for help. But Ryuji steps in, stating that if it's a curse, he can handle it with his enchantment skills. The princess is skeptical, but Ryuji reassures her that the curse afflicting the king isn't particularly strong. He explains that a simple curse removal magic stone would be more than enough to handle it. The only problem is he doesn't have one on hand and will need to craft it from scratch. He assures her he can gather all the necessary materials from the nearby forest and will have it ready by the next day. Her hope renewed. The princess looks at him with fierce determination. I understand, please, I'm counting on you! The next day, Ryuji and Lena are out gathering the ingredients, and he calls over to check on her progress. Lena smiles, reporting that her side of the search is going perfectly. She specifies, I found some droppings over there. They're from a slender boar. Ryuji is impressed. You can tell the species just from that? Your elven senses are incredible. Princess Chetsuri, who has accompanied them, asks, A slender boar? What kind of creature is it? Lena explains that it's a large but timid nocturnal boar, so while not highly dangerous, they should still be careful. Ryuji addresses the group. It might still be nearby. Let's spread out and stay alert. After a successful search, Ryuji looks over their full cart. This should be more than enough. Lena agrees, adding that with this surplus, they won't have to worry about materials for a while. The young knight accompanying the princess asks, You were gathering clay earlier? Is that also an ingredient? He looks on in amazement as he learns its purpose. I see. Alchemy is truly a profound art. Lena smiles, explaining that in many ways, alchemy is quite similar to the work of an apothecary. Princess Chetsuri adds that the medicine also helps with digestion, making it perfect for a diet. She then teases the knight, suggesting he try some for his frequent stomach aches, much to his embarrassment. Suddenly, a new voice cuts in. Looks like you're doing okay, Ryuji. It's his other stepsister, Suzu. But their reunion is interrupted as Lena spots something ahead. Is that a slender boar? On the ground lies the massive carcass of the beast, covered in deep, bloody gashes. Lena confirms grimly, It's dead. Examining the wounds, she deduces, From the looks of these claw marks, it was killed by a large bear. The others tense up as Suzu murmurs, A bear? But Lena's sharp senses tell her something is off. However, this is strange. The carcass is too clean, she explains. If a bear had killed it for food, it would have been torn to shreds. Princess Chetsuri processes the grim implication. So that means, Lena elaborates, it was killed for a reason other than hunger. A sudden roar from the trees puts the young knight on high alert. A bear! He yells, raising his shield. Something massive crashes through the undergrowth. A colossal paw slams into the ground before them. The knight grunts, bracing himself as the beast's full weight smashes into his shield. But Ryuji remains unfazed, a slight smirk on his face. Well now, a monstrous bear, its eyes glowing with unnatural light, towers over the party. That's a big one. But before the beast can attack again, a figure leaps into action. It's Minori, charging headfirst towards the enormous creature. With a fierce cry, she brings her blade down on the beast's arm, but the sword bounces off with a loud clang. "What is this thing?" she cries. "It's so hard!" Even Ryuji is stunned. No way! That was Minori's full-power slash. A normal beast would have lost its arm from that blow, but this monster doesn't even flinch as it swats her away. Minori lands on her feet, looking to her brother. What's going on? But Ryuji's eyes are locked on the bear's chest, where he spots a glowing magic stone. He immediately moves to shield the princess. "Lady Tsetsi, please step back." Ryuji reveals the creature's true nature. This bear is a chimera, a monstrous being created through forbidden alchemy, fusing multiple animals into one magical beast. These abominations are supposed to be strictly controlled. So what idiot, Ryuji wonders, let something this dangerous run free? But Suzu refuses to be a bystander, declaring she won't just be protected. Lena immediately asks her to coordinate their magic. With a battle cry, Suzu gathers a storm of electrical energy, commanding it to pierce the beast. At the same time, Lane conjures her own spell. Arrow of flame, burn that bear's face. Together, they unleash a devastating combination attack, lightning and fire arrow. The spells score a direct hit, and the chimera roars in agony. But Ryuji's eyes widen in shock. The chimera has its own magical defenses, and the sisters' powerful attacks had absolutely no effect. With their strongest magic nullified, Ryuji wonders what their next move could possibly be. Lena turns to him, her face etched with concern. "Ryuji, I have an idea." Ryuji considers her plan for a moment. "All right, let's give it a try." Princess Tetsiri turns to her guard. "Dietrich, buy us time for the enchantment." The knight stands firm. "Leave it to me." Lene quickly lays out the strategy for Minori. "Aim for its hind legs and stop its movement." As they speak, Ryuji finishes his work, applying a powerful sharpness enchantment. "It's done! I'm counting on you!" Minori charges forward, relieving the knight. "Dietrich, I'll take it from here!" She unleashes a ferocious slash. The chimera roars in surprise, as this time her blade doesn't bounce off. The enchanted sword slices deep into the monster's leg, throwing it off balance. Seizing the opening, Ryuji shouts for the next phase of the plan. "Lena!" Lane acknowledges with a confident, "Thank you." She quickly shouts for Minori and Dietrich to fall back. Then, she hurls her potion, which erupts into a massive swirling inferno that completely engulfs the chimera. Dietrich and the princess are stunned, with the knight stammering, "What? Is this power?" Ryuji explains that the whirlwind enchantment he used before was designed to reduce a bomb's power. But Lena clarifies that this time, the enchantment was specialized for one thing only: amplifying its destructive force. The beast roars in agony, its movements completely halted by the fiery vortex. Seizing the moment, Ryuji reveals his trump card. This will be the final blow, with the magic stone of sealing. He hurls the dark crystal through the air. It strikes the chimera directly on its forehead. Princess Tetsiri stares in disbelief. "Wait, is that a slime?" Lene explains that Ryuji had shown her the stone before, recalling that he'd sealed a slime inside it. Ryuji praises Lene's brilliant plan, noting that even if physical and magical attacks failed, as long as you cover its nose and mouth, the beast can't breathe. The chimera is completely suffocated. After retrieving the magic core, Ryuji is left wondering what that creature truly was. He speculates it was either the work of a foolish alchemist or someone who tested a synthetic magic core on a bear. Lena states they need to report this to the guild, but Ryuji is torn, saying he doesn't have time to go while he needs to craft the curse removal magic stone. Suddenly, Minori bursts out laughing, startling Ryuji. She smiles brightly, volunteering to handle the guild report for him. "You want to get started on that stone right away, don't you?" Relieved, Ryuji agrees. Minori then offers to handle processing the chimera's remains as well, asking to borrow his Vajra enchantment for the task. Princess Tetsiri and Dietrich watch as the new plan is set in motion. With the chimera left in Minori's capable hands, Ryuji tells Lene it's time for them to head back to the workshop. Back at their base, they prepare to begin crafting the magic stone immediately. Lena confirms all the preparations are complete, and Ryuji agrees it's time to start. She smiles confidently, ready for the ultimate collaboration between an alchemist and an enchanter. Ryuji holds up the core material, declaring, "This is where our skills truly shine." And so the work begins. Their workshop is filled with complex alchemical tools and rare ingredients. Ryuji assesses their supplies, confident they have everything they need and can finish by evening. He rallies his partner. All right, Lena, time to show them the power of an alchemist and an enchanter, to which she eagerly agrees. But they're not alone. A blonde nobleman, likely a royal envoy, has come to observe, asking, "Can you truly make the magic stone from that?" Ryuji presents the raw material, explaining, "Yes, this is a null magic stone." He begins to detail the intricate process. First, we slice it with a special knife using a catalyst and heat. Next, we use a whetstone to shape it. This is the step that actually imbues it with power. And finally, we polish the stone to bring out its luster and refine its shape. Ryuji gestures to the finished products, concluding, "This process is what turns it into an efficient, usable magic stone." The envoy nods. "I see," but he has a sharp question. If the power is granted during the shaping phase, why is the polishing step necessary at all? Ryuji's expression turns deadly serious. Because without the final polish, you can't draw out its full potential. Every single step is vital for increasing the stone's quality. You can't cut any corners. He elaborates, especially for a stone that will affect a person's life, like this curse removal stone. The skill of the enchanter becomes glaringly obvious in the final result. For an artisan, our skill is constantly being tested by how much power we can imbue into our work. He winks, holding up a small magic card. "All right, this should do it. First, I'll place the cut stone on a catalyst inside this heat-resistant dish." Ryuji summons a glowing magic circle over the tray. And now, we apply heat. The process begins. Instantly, the leaves beneath the stone wither and turn to ash. The envoy gasps. The catalyst plants. They're disintegrating. As the last leaf vanishes, Ryuji explains, "With this, the power has been successfully imbued. Now all that's left is the preforming, cutting, and final polish." He then turns to his partner. "Oh, that's right, Lena. The bottle will need a final enchantment, so let me know when the potion is ready." Lena smiles. "Understood." The curious envoy turns to Lena. "And what is it that you're making?" Lena replies, "I'm preparing a stamina recovery potion." She explains with a confident smile, "Even if the magic stone removes the curse, it won't restore the king's depleted strength. I thought a potion to alleviate his fatigue would be for the best." The princess is amazed. "Incredible to think you can make such a potent medicine from nail-y grass." The envoy adds, "Is that a particularly effective herb?" "Yes," Lena confirms. "I grind it into a powder, mix it with distilled water, and then concentrate the mixture. After that, I'll use alchemy to adjust the liquid, distill it between 70 and 80 degrees, and the stamina recovery potion will be complete." The princess sighs in relief. It's reassuring to know the main ingredient is a familiar herb. The envoy agrees. Indeed, it's often used in teas. Ryuji explains, "This is going to be a long process for both of us, so we appreciate your patience." The princess smiles. "Of course, don't mind us." The envoy adds, "It's an honor to witness such skill." The princess then addresses them both directly. She and the envoy bow deeply. "We are counting on you." Lena beams with confidence. "Leave it to us." Ryuji returns a confident smile, ready to begin the monumental task. Without a moment's delay, he gets to work at his enchanting station. He carefully takes the chimera's magic core, the key ingredient for the curse removal stone. Meanwhile, Lena is just as focused on her own task, preparing the king's recovery potion. Ryuji's concentration is absolute as magical energy begins to flare from his equipment. Lena meticulously combines her ingredients, her eyes wide with focus. She works with the practiced ease of a master alchemist, a calm smile gracing her lips. Ryuji watches his own process unfold, his expression calm and steady. Suddenly, Lena looks up, her work reaching its conclusion. And just like that, she announces, "It's complete." Without taking his eyes off his work, Ryuji asks, "How's the potion coming along?" Lena smiles. "Good work, Ryuji. I just need to enchant the bottle and it's done." He gives a slight, confident smile. "I see. Good work to you too, Lena." As Ryuji stands and stretches, Lena brushes off the praise. "Oh, this was nothing." He replies, "That's my reliable partner." Turning to their royal guests, Ryuji announces, "Thank you for waiting." The envoy leans forward. "Is it complete?" Ryuji and Lena stand side by side, presenting the fruits of their labor. Yes, Ryuji says with a grin. It's perfect. The princess and the envoy gaze in awe at the glowing magic stone. It's beautiful, Tsetsuria whispers. The stone itself is a masterwork of craftsmanship, a perfect 58-sided polyhedron. Ryuji explains, I crafted it into this specific shape, a form known to draw in light and maximize the stone's magical output. Holding the radiant crystal, he makes a solemn vow. I promise you, the light from this stone will purify His Majesty's curse. And that, he concludes, covers the instructions for its use. Ryuji explains, using it is simple. Just pour magic into the stone and it will activate. Lene then presents her part of the cure. And this is the medicine. He just needs to take it orally. She smiles, adding, Ryuji also applied a recovery enchantment to amplify its effects, so I guarantee it's more potent than usual. The princess clutches the box tightly. With tears welling in her eyes, she thanks them. Truly, thank you so much. Lene gives a gentle smile in return. As night falls, Lena offers them lodging. It's late, please stay the night. We can't have you being attacked by bandits again. The envoy gratefully accepts, but their conversation is cut short by a sudden shout, Ryuji ni! The door bursts open, revealing an exhausted Minori leaning in the doorway. The group turns in shock as Lena recognizes her. Minori? She stumbles forward, completely spent. With a trembling hand, she shoves a crumpled letter at Ryuji. He takes it, confused. A letter? His eyes widen in shock. Lene gasps. Ryuji's voice is tight with dread as he recognizes the script. Is this Suzu's handwriting? He opens the note to find a single desperate plea scrawled across the page. Help me. The scene shifts, showing a lone wagon traveling down a dirt road. Inside, a flashback reveals a distraught Minori. It's my fault. If only I'd brought Suzu with me. Lene tries to comfort her. Don't blame yourself. Back in the present, Lena explains to a grim-faced Ryuji. She's been like this since last night. Ryuji's gaze darkens as he blames himself. If I'm being honest, I'm the one who should be blamed. My decision to leave town is the root cause of all this. He remembers his sister's strength, thinking, they're both more skilled and experienced in combat than I am. I truly believed they would be fine. No, Minori must have thought the same thing, and that's why she chose a different path. He stares at the crumpled note. But this single piece of paper proves that something has happened that none of us could have ever predicted. He looks at his distraught sister. And Minori understands that. That's why she's carrying such an immense burden of guilt. Ryuji's resolve hardens. We don't know what's happening to Suzu. We have no choice but to head there immediately. He pieces together the clues. The letter was sent from Beham, so she must still be in that town. But then, a sudden realization. However, this is so abrupt. I've been incredibly rude to Princess Tsetsuria. The princess, however, is resolute. This is an emergency. Please don't worry about us. You must go. She offers her aid. If you need them, I can arrange for horses. But Ryuji declines. We can't ride. We'll take the stagecoach first thing in the morning. Princess Tsetsuria holds out a letter. In that case, please take this. Ryuji examines the document, recognizing the royal seal. This is, the princess explains, it's a royal invitation. Once you have finished your business in Beham, she says, please come to the royal capital, Rautinger. There, I will be able to properly express my gratitude for all you have done. The next morning, as their stagecoach rumbles along, Lena calls out, Ryuji-san! Ryuji turns to her. What is it, Lena? She smiles, holding up a wrapped sandwich. I saved your portion. He takes it gratefully. Sorry about that. Then he looks around. Where's Minori? Minori sits hunched over, consumed by guilt. I don't have an appetite. Lena sits beside her, offering the food gently. Minori, you won't be able to move if you don't eat. Ryuji's voice is firm but gentle. Sensei always told us, if you want to accomplish anything, you have to eat and sleep properly. Tears welling in her eyes, Minori finally relents. I understand. She takes a reluctant bite. As she eats, her tears fall onto the food. Ryuji remarks softly, it must taste salty, because you're crying. As their journey continues, Ryuji notes, We should be approaching the border with the Deer Kingdom soon. Lena peeks out of the carriage. At this rate, it's still going to take a while to reach Beham. Suddenly, the driver screams in a panic. Whoa! Stop! Stop! The stagecoach lurches to a halt, and the passengers spill out. What in the world is going on? The road ahead is completely blocked by a massive rock slide. The passengers are in disbelief. We can't get through, one asks, while another cries out, But I have urgent business! Isn't there anything we can do? Lena assesses the situation. This is a problem. We can't afford to wait for this to be cleared. Ryuji's eyes narrow with determination. Then I'll just have to move it. Lena is shocked. Move it? You can't possibly carry all those rocks, not even with the magic stone of Herculean strength. I know, Ryuji replies, his mind already racing through his other options. That's why I'll use another method. He steps forward, facing the mountain of rubble. I'm going to clear this path. Meanwhile, back in the town of Beham, a member of Berserk barges into a room shouting, Hey, Suzu! Guy and the rest of his party are right behind him, and their leader demands, Where the hell did Minori go? Suzu doesn't even look up from her magic book. I'm reading, and don't just barge into my room, now answer my question. She finally glances over her shoulder with a cold expression. Minori left town yesterday. I don't know where she went. Now get out. Guy's face contorts with fury. You little brat, what do you think you're doing? But Suzu doesn't even flinch. That's my line. You call yourself a party leader, but you just forced your way into our party from the start. She turns, her words like daggers. Ryuji and Minori were always cleaning up your messes. You're the one who needs a reality check, Guy. That's it! Guy snaps, smacking the book right out of her hands. It flies across the room. As he strikes, Suzu mutters, Just borrowing something? But Guy didn't just hit the book. He used the opening to snatch something from her neck. Her necklace is gone! He looms over her, his voice a low growl. Hey, you brat! He grabs her by the collar, lifting her up. Don't get cocky. Suzu glares back, completely unfazed by his threats. Marie finally steps in, shouting, Guy, stop it! That's enough! But Guy is completely lost to his rage, screaming, She's the one who's wrong, this little brat! He leans in closer, his voice dripping with menace. Tell me where Minori went, Suzu. I still haven't accepted your withdrawal from the party. Even now, Suzu's voice is steady. Leaving a party is an individual's right. Besides, Minori and I have already submitted our withdrawal forms to the guild. They've officially quit. A slow, cruel smile spreads across Guy's face. Is that so? He turns to the unnamed member of his party. Guy gives a chilling order. Get another room at this inn. I'll keep her here and beat the information out of her until she talks. And just like that, Suzu is dragged away, her thoughts fading as she's locked in a room. How much time has passed? Her hands are bound, the door locked tight. Suzu is a prisoner, left alone in the dark. As her stomach growls, a memory surfaces. A promise she made to their sensei, to always eat and sleep properly. A promise she's now broken. She thinks back to the confrontation. If Guy hadn't stolen her necklace, she never would have lost to such a cheap shot. But dwelling on it is useless. Her body is growing weaker by the minute. She has to move while she still can. She listens intently at the door. Silence. A grim determination settles on her face. If there are no guards, then now's her chance. A magic circle ignites as she begins a desperate chant. Transfer. My body. But this isn't a transfer spell, it's imitation. A flashback reveals her desperate plan. The imitation body was weak, but it was strong enough for one simple task. To secretly give Minori a letter for Ryuji, begging for help. With the letter secured, Minori departed. Suzu watched her go, praying that her message would reach her brother in time. And it did. We jump back to Zarushutat, 10 days after Ryuji first left his old party. A familiar figure stands before the guildmaster, asking, Is that information true? But it's not Ryuji. It's Minori. She stormed into the guild, demanding answers. Ilman-san, I need to ask you something urgently. The guildmaster, Ilman, looks up in shock, mistaking her for her stepbrother. Ryuji, you've returned? But Minori cuts him off, her voice sharp and desperate. We can talk about that later. More importantly, do you know where Suzu is? Ilman is taken aback. Suzu? And with that, the flashback ends. Back in the present, Ryuji, Lena, and Minori have finally arrived in Beham, and Ryuji is asking the same question at the local guild. It seems something has happened to her, but as he speaks, his eyes catch a familiar figure in the crowd. It's one of the members of Berserk. He sees Ryuji and freezes, a look of pure panic on his face. Oh no! Ryuji's gaze hardens. Sean, judging by that reaction, he immediately turns to his companions. Follow me. A grim certainty settles over him. I have a pretty good idea where she is. As they move, Ryuji recalls a tip he'd just received, that Suzu was being confined by her own party. And now, seeing Sean leaving a specific room at the inn confirms his worst fears. Ryuji thinks the guild won't intervene in a dispute between adventurers, especially when it's a family matter. But after seeing Sean's reaction, I'm sure of it. I have to confirm this myself. They stop before a single door. This is it. Ryuji says grimly, Suzu is most likely being held captive in this room. He calls out, Suzu, can you hear me? It's me, Ryuji. But there's no response. Suddenly, Minori rushes forward. Ryuji-ni, I explained the situation to the inn owner and borrowed the key. Click. The door flies open as Ryuji bursts in, shouting, Suzu! The three of them stand ready in the doorway, peering into the dark room. Inside, they find a figure lying motionless on the floor. It's Suzu. Minori and Lena rush to her side as Minori cries out, Suzu, are you okay? Lena quickly checks her vitals, sighing in relief. She's just sleeping. Cradling her sister, Minori is overcome with guilt. Suzu, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I left you all alone. But Lena's expression turns grim. She's terribly weak from malnutrition. She needs a nutritional potion immediately. Suddenly, a furious voice erupts from the doorway. Hey, what do you think you're doing barging in here? Ryuji's eyes lock onto a familiar face standing behind Guy. Marie... Lena freezes, recognizing her cruel former partner. Marie... Guy's face twists into a snarl. Ryuji, what the hell are you doing in my room? Get out! But Ryuji's expression is pure cold fury. Guy scoffs, a smug grin spreading across his face. What's with that look? You really think a pathetic third-rank enchanter can stand up to me? Ryuji's voice is low and dripping with contempt. As always, you can only judge people by their rank and class. His eyes snap up, burning with rage. A paper-thin second rank who can't even complete a quest without my magic stones. Don't you dare bark at me. But before the two can clash, a man steps between them. That's enough. The guildmaster, Ilman, fixes Guy with a stern glare. Guy, I warned you. One more incident and you'll be demoted to third rank. Guy sputters, trying to defend himself. Wait, guildmaster, he's the one who broke into my room. I'm not the one at fault here. Ilman's gaze shifts to the unconscious Suzu. Then how do you explain her condition? Ryuji's voice is ice. Ilman-san, don't stop me. There's no point in talking to him anymore. The guildmaster sighs, rubbing his forehead in exasperation. I see. It seems words won't solve this. He lowers his hand, a thoughtful look on his face. All right. In that case, let's try this. Ilman's voice cuts through the tension. Both of you outside. He makes his declaration. We'll settle this with a duel. I will act as the witness. At that moment, a faint groan. Suzu's eyes flutter open. Suzu, you're awake! She looks up, dazed. Minori? Lena, I remember. We were on a request together. The scene shifts to a massive training arena. Suzu, now on her feet, asks where they are. Lena explains, at Ilman-san's suggestion, Ryuji and Guy are going to have a duel. Minori adds confidently, this will settle the matter publicly. If it's a promise made in a duel, Guy won't be able to back out of it. In the center of the arena, the two opponents face off. Minori finishes, if Ryuji wins, this will all be over. Ilman steps forward to officiate. Let's confirm the conditions one more time. Guy states his terms with arrogant confidence. If I win, Minori and Suzu will rejoin Berserk, and Ryuji will be banned from this town forever. Ryuji lays out his own terms with cold precision. If I win, you will pay 500 gold coins as compensation for the suffering you caused Minori and Suzu. And as punishment, you will be demoted to a fourth-rank adventurer. Ilman's voice echoes across the silent arena. Are both sides in agreement with these conditions? Fueled by pure rage, they both roar in unison. We agree! Guy immediately draws his sword, itching for the fight. If you want to beg for your life, now's the time, Ryuji. But Ryuji's gaze is like ice. You're a pathetic man, Guy. Try not to lose your nerve when you're demoted. Guy's party members watch in stunned silence. Illman raises his hand to officiate. Then, Lena, Minori, and Suzu watch with bated breath. The guildmaster's voice booms across the arena. Let the duel begin! The conditions have been confirmed. The stakes are set. If Guy wins, his sisters return to his party and Ryuji is banished. Illman asks for one final confirmation. Are the conditions for both sides correct? Guy smirks. That's right. And Ryuji calmly agrees. There is no mistake. Guy explodes with rage. If you want to beg for your life, now's the time, Ryuji. The duel begins. But Ryuji is ice cold, retorting, You're a pitiful man, Guy. Try not to lose your nerve when you get demoted to 4th rank. That's all it takes for Guy to charge forward, swinging his massive sword. But his blade smashes into empty ground as Ryuji gracefully leaps into the air. You bastard! Guy roars. Stop running around! Ryuji coolly replies, I refuse. It would hurt if you hit me. He then adds insult to injury. Besides, your movements are sloppy. You should learn from Minori and try a little harder. Guy grits his teeth. I really can't stand you, he snarls. But then the stakes of the duel suddenly dawn on him. Wait, 500 gold coins? He shouts in a panic. There's no way I have that kind of money to just throw away. I figured as much, Ryuji says calmly. He then turns his attention to the rest of Berserk. But even if you don't have it, what about your other members? Marie, in particular, should have saved up quite a bit, right? Marie flinches. Wait a minute, I refuse! But Guy just roars at his own party. Shut up, hand it over. If I win, it'll all be fine. Show some sincerity and lend it to me, Guy demands, his pride completely shattered. But Ryuji just smirks, laying down the final trap. If you can't even acknowledge the money on the line, then your own conditions are meaningless. Utterly cornered, Guy turns to his party. Marie, Sean, lend me the money. Sean stammers, a leader. But Marie closes her eyes with a sigh of resignation. I understand. But in exchange, she warns, you absolutely must win. The humiliation is too much. Guy trembles with fury, muttering, Damn it! Damn it all! His rage focuses into a single point. He lunges forward, roaring, There's no way I'll lose to a 3rd-rank Enchanter! Ryuji calmly analyzes the attack. He's gotten stronger out of desperation. It was worth provoking him with the penalty. With a cold glint in his eye, he thinks, It's about time. Ryuji finally makes his move, unleashing a volley of fire arrows. Arrows of flame, pierce the enemy before me and burn! But Guy effortlessly bats them aside with his sword, the flames scattering harmlessly. No effect. Gay scoffs, Ha! Did you really think that level of magic would work on me? You're just an enchanter. Ryuji turns his back, completely unimpressed. All that big talk, but your movements are still so dull. He glances back with a condescending smirk. Why don't you take off that heavy-looking armor? Guy's face darkens with rage. He snaps, charging forward with a furious scream. Shut up! But Ryuji is already one step ahead, revealing a magic stone. He doesn't even realize I haven't enhanced this with the magic stone of ascension. Guy freezes, a cold sweat breaking out as he mutters, Is this all there is to it? With Guy frozen in terror, Ryuji unleashes his next spell. Magic element, gather! Become a lightning strike and pierce that swordsman! He casts Lightning Strike. A massive bolt of electricity engulfs Guy, who roars as he struggles to block it with his shield. But as the smoke clears, Ryuji looks on, unimpressed. Just like the fire arrow, there was no feedback. His eyes narrow in suspicion. He's doing something. To get to the bottom of it, he activates his signature skill. Appraisal. The scan reveals Guy's stats in detail. Ryuji quickly deduces that none of Guy's equipment has magical properties. The effect must be coming from Guy himself. He connects the dots. The only way Guy could have this power is if it was granted to him. Is this Marie's handiwork? Ryuji confronts him directly. You're using anti-magic, aren't you? Guy is completely stunned. The crowd murmurs as Marie glares from the sidelines. The source of the power is a strange emblem glowing on his shield. Ryuji's voice is cold. Guy, have you defiled this sacred duel? No! Guy sputters. He's just making wild accusations. He desperately turns to the referee. Illman-san, we can continue, right? But Ryuji interrupts, tossing a magic stone. You can't beat a third rank like me without going this far, can you? The stone smacks Guy directly in the chest. In an instant, Ryuji closes the distance, his expression utterly merciless. Guy stumbles backward, gasping in shock and pain. You're not a true second rank, Ryuji sneers. You're just an arrogant fool with an overinflated ego. Guy's mind shatters. Pinned by Ryuji's grip, he sputters, What is this insane strength? Why am I being overpowered? His worst fears flash before his eyes. A 500 gold indemnity. Demotion from his rank. All that money, all that prestige, he can't afford to lose it now. That's right, Guy screams in denial. You're just a useless enchanter. There's no way you have this kind of power. Ryuji looks down, utterly unimpressed. Since this is a good opportunity, he says calmly, I'll teach you something. You've always been mistaken. A memory surfaces in Guy's mind, Ryuji telling the party, I'm a rearguard support enchanter. Don't expect me to work like a swordsman or mage. But Ryuji's voice cuts through the memory, cold and sharp. Not once. Did I ever say I couldn't fight? A memory plays in Guy's mind of Ryuji's logic. It's simple. When an amateur gets involved in a professional's fight, they just get in the way. So it was only logical for me to support the two of you with my enchantments. You should have been able to figure that out. Back in the present, Ryuji's voice is laced with contempt. You saw me in that role. And you just assumed I was some weakling support class this whole time. He tightens his grip on his staff. Then with a sudden explosive shove, he sends Guy flying. Guy skids across the arena floor, his weapons clattering away from him. He looks up in absolute shock, because an immense cloud of power erupts from where Ryuji now stands. The entire arena is engulfed in a massive cloud of dust and magical energy. Guy, scrambling for an explanation, immediately assumes it's another one of Marie's tricks. But as the smoke clears, he realizes this is no simple smokescreen, because a terrifying hooded figure now stands behind Ryuji. His mind completely broken, Guy lets out a final desperate roar and charges forward, screaming for Ryuji to die. Ryuji doesn't even flinch. He simply clenches his fist, channeling so much power that his own enchanted glove begins to crack and disintegrate. As Guy swings, shadowy tendrils erupt from the ground, effortlessly blocking his attack. Guy freezes, his mind unable to process what he's seeing. He can only stare in silent horror. The shadowy appendage holds firm against Guy's blade. Ryuji clutches his head, as if fighting to control the immense power he's unleashed. Guy is utterly broken. Before he can react, a shadowy hand emerges from behind Ryuji and grabs him by the face, and slams him into the arena floor. A pathetic groan escapes his lips. The dark energy recedes, leaving Ryuji standing alone. He looks down on his defeated stepbrother without a shred of pity. Ilmin, the referee, takes a steadying breath, and declares the winner of the duel, Ryuji. With the duel concluded, Minori approaches her brother, her voice filled with concern. Ryuji kneels down to Suzu, his voice soft with regret. I'm sorry, Suzu. I never should have left you. But Suzu looks up, absolving him of the blame. It was my choice to act separately from you and Minori. He offers a gentle smile. Don't worry about it. Lena, however, is still reeling from the display. Still, to break a sword with your bare hands, was that a magic stone too? He confirms, showing her the gem on his glove. Yes, a little bonus from the magic stone of fuel I used back at the landslide. He explains it's a gift from the war god Fuel, a precious stone that grants explosive physical power, but only when his hands are empty. It reminds him of another conditional stone he used in the past. Lean looks troubled, realizing these gifts come with strange, almost parasitic conditions that set them apart from normal magic stones. Meanwhile, Marie rushes towards her fallen party leader, her voice laced with panic. Guy! Leader! As Minori rushes to her brother's side, Marie can only stare in shock. She struggles to lift Guy's broken form. Lena watches them go, lost in thought. Later, with the chaos behind them, the reunited family takes a moment. The scene flashes back to a memory of their sensei, declaring the formation of their first party, Altena. Back in the present, Ryuji suggests they find a place to rest and prepare before heading to the castle. Minori agrees with a smile. We haven't had a chance to relax since we rushed here right after the duel. She asks Suzu how she's feeling, and Suzu confirms that thanks to Lenny's medicine, she's perfectly fine and ready for a break. Lena has the perfect idea, pulling out the royal document. Why not the castle town? We have an invitation from Lady Tsetsi. Ryuji agrees, and with their next destination set, the group is ready to move forward together. And so, they set off for the royal capital, Roudinger. 12 days pass on the road. The long journey is starting to wear on them, with Minori complaining that she's exhausted from all the walking, but Suzu encourages her to keep going. Suddenly, Lin gasps. She points ahead excitedly. I can see it! Ryuji looks up in awe. Before them stands the magnificent royal capital. Sometime later, after settling in, Ryuji is left speechless as the girls show off their new outfits, complimenting each other on their beautiful dresses. Suzu, in a lovely black dress, thanks Lena, admitting her choice was a bit of an adventure. But Minori is still hiding in the fitting room, too embarrassed to come out in a skirt. Ryuji waits. As Lena and Suzu try to coax the shy Minori out, he thinks to himself how lively it all is. But he feels completely out of place in a women's clothing store. The whispers of the other shoppers only make him more uncomfortable. Deciding he's had enough, Ryuji suggests he'll go check out another store while they finish up. But Lena immediately shoots him down, telling him that's not an option. Minori peeks out, asking with a sad expression if he isn't going to help them choose their outfits. Suzu simply calls him pitiful. Completely cornered, Ryuji can only sweat in stunned silence. Meanwhile, at the local Adventurers Guild, later as the group eats, Suzu teases her brother, asking if he's already tired from a little shopping. Ryuji can only sigh and admit that he now understands the true ordeal. He flashes back to the 3-hour shopping trip where his every complaint was met with resistance. The girls ganged up on him, saying it was his own fault for only giving vague compliments. It's so unreasonable, he mutters, as Lena decides to change the subject. She suggests that once their new clothes are ready in the morning, they should go see Princess Tetsiri, and Ryuji agrees. The mood at the table is light, with Minori happily sharing her food with Lena. She says that more than anything, she's just glad to see everyone having fun. As the girls' bond grows stronger, Ryuji feels a little left out. He wonders if he can keep up with this new dynamic, his thoughts drifting back to his responsibilities in Zarushutat. His mind is on Zarushutat, the city he left behind. Back in that city, rumors have already begun to spread among the local merchants. They speak of a massive, unbelievable vein of magic crystals discovered in the supposedly depleted barren mine. However, progress on restoring the port city is stalled, as the king is focused on preparing for an invasion from the north. The merchants lament this, wishing the crown would prioritize the development of their territory. Ryuji knows that news of his discovery has become public knowledge. He ponders the complex issue of how these newfound resources will be distributed. But for now, he has another pressing matter: the royal invitation. The next day, the group arrives at the castle, and their letter of introduction is confirmed by the guards. Dressed in their finest, they are led inside, where an attendant welcomes Party Altena, the name their sensei gave them long ago. As they follow the attendant, a voice calls out from nearby. They turn to see a ridiculously muscular, shirtless man asking if they're guests. The attendant immediately snaps to attention. He introduces the group as the enchanter and alchemist who crafted the curse removal magic stone. The man's eyes light up. Oh, so it's you! He then introduces himself as Georg von Weishutein, the king of this country. The entire party is completely thunderstruck. This is the king? As the attendant tries to make a formal introduction, King Georg waves it off, telling them not to be so stiff. He looks at them with genuine gratitude, calling them the saviors of his life. Ryuji, ever humble, can only reply that he's too kind. King Georg brushes off Ryuji's modesty, telling him there's no need to be so reserved. Lena is completely flustered, thinking it's impossible not to be formal in front of a king. Suzu is in a similar state of shock, never imagining she'd meet royalty. And Minori is just lost, having no clue what the proper etiquette is in this situation. Trying to regain some composure, Ryuji asks about the king's health, to which Georg replies with a simple, "I'm truly grateful." He explains with a grin that not only did the cure remove the curse, but the medicine left him with so much excess energy that he's been training hard ever since. Just then, another man arrives, clad in armor. The king greets him as Gotthalt, saying he's just in time to discuss that magic stone. The armored man, Gotthalt, looks on seriously, repeating the words, magic stone. Ryuji and Lena look on, caught by surprise. The man introduces himself as Gotthalt von Hoffmann, the captain of the Knight Order. Gotthalt recognizes them, recalling the incident where they saved his knights, and Lena gets flustered, insisting they only did what was natural. He bows his head slightly, formally expressing the gratitude of the entire Night Order for their assistance. The king decides they've kept their guests standing long enough. He orders the attendant to escort them to a reception room. King Georg adds that he'll have Princess Tsetsiri join them right away. A moment later, the princess herself arrives, apologizing for the wait. The whole party breathes a collective sigh of relief, overjoyed to see her safe and sound. Tsetsiri's gaze lands on Suzu, and Ryuji formally introduces his younger sister. With a warm smile, the princess expresses her genuine relief that Suzu is unharmed. Suzu, still a bit overwhelmed by royalty, quietly offers her thanks. Tsetsiri gestures for them to sit, noting they must be tired after such a long journey. Once everyone is settled, the princess begins, stating they have much to discuss. But first, she places a heavy pouch on the table, announcing that she has prepared the remainder of their reward. She hands it to Ryuji. He begins to address her formally, "Your Highness?" But she quickly cuts him off, insisting he just call her Tsetsiri. After a moment's hesitation, Ryuji agrees. "Tsetsiri-sama." His compromise earns a bright smile from the princess. She then explains that the reward is much larger than they agreed upon because she's included a hefty bonus. The reason, she clarifies, is because the curse removal magic stone they created performed with an efficacy that far exceeded all of their expectations. "And it wasn't just that," Tsetsiri continues. "You also took my father's physical condition into account and provided recovery medicine. Therefore," she says with a confident smile, "I believe this bonus is a perfectly fair price for your services." She sighs, admitting that the only problem is that her father is now a little too energetic. Tsetsiri then adds that her father has another message for them, a personal thanks separate from the reward. Ryuji, holding the heavy pouch, stammers that this is already more than enough and asks if they can have a formal audience at a later time. But the princess insists, telling him, "You have performed a great service." The scene shifts to a grand throne room as her voice echoes, "Please hold your heads high." A regal voice commands them from the throne, "Raise your faces." Enchanter Ryuji and alchemist Lena kneel before the king. King Georg, now in his full royal attire, formally thanks them for creating the curse removal magic stone and the recovery potion, declaring their actions a great service to the kingdom. Humbled, Ryuji and Lena accept the king's praise, saying his words are too kind. But Ryuji mentally kicks himself for stumbling over his words. Lena has the exact same flustered thought. The king continues, "My daughter has already given you your reward, but I wish to thank you personally." He then makes them an incredible offer. "If you have any wish, speak it now." The scene changes to a grand study as Ryuji processes the king's words. "A wish?" Princess Tsetsiri smiles warmly. She explains that her father truly wants to grant them anything they desire to show his gratitude. Lena thinks for a moment, admitting that while she has some minor wants, there's nothing she dare ask of a king. She turns to her partner, asking, "Do you have anything in mind, Ryuji?" And his thoughtful expression suggests an idea is forming. Ryuji steps forward, addressing the princess directly. "There is one thing I'd like to ask of you, Lady Tsetsiri." She listens intently. "I see." The princess considers his words, replying, "I don't see any particular problem with that. However," Ryuji clarifies, "the question is whether it's something that can be realized. With that in mind, I have one presumptuous request." He makes his wish clear. "I would like to request your support for the restoration of the port of Zarushutat in the Reihina Marquisate." His words catch the attention of a previously unseen figure. Standing near the throne is a stern-looking man with long gray hair. He scoffs. "I never thought a commoner would dare to meddle in politics." Ryuji glances over, wondering who this influential-looking man is. The king addresses him with a knowing smile. "Don't say that, Elmar. There are things one can only see from the people's perspective. Though for a prime minister, you certainly are." "Elmar, the prime minister," Ryuji realizes. The king formally introduces him, Prime Minister Elmar von Schutteln. "My words may sound like I'm criticizing him," the king continues, "but it seems our opinions on this matter are completely opposed." He then turns his full attention back to the Enchanter. "Ryuji, your wish is not something that can be decided by my authority alone in this very room." Ryuji bows his head. "I am aware my request is presumptuous. I am prepared to accept any judgment." The king grips the arms of his throne. "However," he rises, his voice echoing through the hall, "as the king of this country, I promise to do everything in my power to answer the hopes of my people." With the audience concluded, Ryuji thinks to himself, "Now, if we can just get His Majesty's attention turned to the southwest, this will be a success." He glances at Lena. "You were biting your lip." She blushes. Don't point that out." As they leave the throne room, Princess Tetsiri turns to them. "You've both been through so much." Ryuji reassures her. It's no trouble at all. But Lena can only ask, "Really?" The princess smiles warmly at the whole family. "We've prepared a dinner for you all. Tonight, let's just enjoy ourselves." And so they head to the banquet. But the scene suddenly shifts to a dark dungeon, where someone is desperately banging on a cell door. "Wait, let me out, this is all wrong." It's Lena, she's been imprisoned. Outside the cell, Suzu tries to calm a frantic Minori. "Sis, if you make a scene, it'll only get worse." A guard scoffs, crossing his arms. "That's right, after causing such a commotion, it wouldn't be strange to execute you for treason against the state." Minori leaps to her defense. "Lena would never commit treason. That's impossible." But a terrified Lena just whispers, "Minori, I'm all right." In the darkness, Ryuji processes the situation. He's been completely outmaneuvered. Who did this? What's their goal? No, I'll figure that out later. His eyes flash with cold determination as he looks toward the cell. First things first, we're getting out of here. The night had started so promisingly after their audience with the king. Back in the lavish guest room they were given, Ryuji finally let out a sigh of relief. He recalled Princess Tetsiri's kind words, offering them rooms in the palace to rest before the celebratory dinner. Lying back, he felt a sense of accomplishment. With this, he thought, everything I needed to do is finished. The king's public support was a massive boon, far more than he could have hoped for, and would be a huge help in their future endeavors. He just needed to figure out a way to thank Minori, Suzu, and Lena for all the trouble he'd put them through. He'd think about it later, but that moment of peace is violently shattered. His eyes snap open. Ryuji jolts upright, every nerve on high alert. A strange metallic sound echoes from the balcony. What was that, at this hour? His senses scream at him. This is serious. Without hesitation, he grips a magic stone. His cloak is cast aside. He springs into action, ready for a fight. But the sound triggers a memory, a violent flashback to a desperate battle. A younger Ryuji sprints down the castle corridor yelling, "I'll back you up!" The hooded figure is cornered by knights, but they seem to know him, thanking Altena for their help. Ryuji raises his hand, channeling the power of the magic stone of Fool. He strikes not with malice, but with a surge of pure power, a gift from the stone. His fist still extended. The transfer is complete, but the impact sends a shockwave of pain through Ryuji's arm. The hooded figure hits the ground, muttering, "This hardness, it's not human." As it rises, its true form is revealed, a hulking golem. The creature looms over the fallen Ryuji, but Ryuji is already back on his feet, shouting a plan. If it's a golem, then it has a core. Destroy that and it will stop. The knights immediately follow his lead, their swords clanging uselessly against its stone body as they search for a weak point. While they keep it busy, Ryuji thinks, I'll find that core. But the golem effortlessly swats a guard aside. A sinister voice echoes through the hall. Took you long enough. Realizing a direct assault is useless, Ryuji changes tactics, leaping onto the golem's back. With a confident smirk, he says, "Mind falling over for me?" He unleashes the power of the magic stone of fuel, shattering the golem's back with a single devastating blow. As the creature stumbles, Ryuji spots its weakness and yells, "Minori, the abdomen!" Minori responds with a battle cry, "Right!" She leaps into action, sword aimed directly at the golem's exposed core. With a final decisive strike, she pierces the core, blowing a massive hole straight through the construct. The castle guards can only stare in disbelief. They defeated it. Minori lands, apologizing for the delay, but Ryuji just smirks. Impressive, but you were late. The reason for her tardiness? A sleepy Lena, rubbing her eyes, explains, "I just wouldn't wake up." Ryuji examines the object Minori destroyed. This is a synthetic magic core created through alchemy. Lena makes a chilling connection. A synthetic core, just like that monstrous bear we fought. Just then, Suzu arrives with a report. "Brother, we're done investigating. I don't think it was an outside intruder." There were no traces of magic leading out of the castle. Ryuji's eyes narrow. Then the culprit is still inside, and this is the scene of the crime. Suddenly, the sound of marching armor echoes through the hall. A new squad of guards surrounds them, their leader declaring, "Party Altena, you four are under arrest on suspicion of orchestrating this attack." Ryuji is utterly blindsided. Huh? A familiar, condescending voice cuts through the confusion. How deplorable. So this was your true motive all along. The next thing they know, they're all behind bars facing Prime Minister Elmar as Ryuji demands, "What is the meaning of this? We've been arrested without reason." But the Prime Minister just scoffs, feigning ignorance, are we? That commotion earlier, he sneers. You're the ones who caused it, aren't you? He points directly at Lena. The golem's core was created through alchemy, and you, elf, are the one who made it. Ryuji steps forward to defend her. Your Excellency! Lena is an alchemist, but it's far too rash to condemn her on that alone. A guard shouts, "Do you know who you're talking to?" But Elmar just looks on with contempt. It's useless to feign innocence now, the Prime Minister continues. He holds up a synthetic core. A magic core, identical to the one used in the golem, was found in the elf's room. Lena and Minori are in disbelief. What? Ryuji's eyes burn with rage. That's a complete fabrication. There's no way Lena would possess a core like that. He flashes back to a past conversation where Lena admitted she couldn't rely on her own alchemy and was relieved that Ryuji had prepared a golem for her. You mean you can't create golems? He had asked. Lena, unable to meet his gaze, had replied, No, I can't. In the flashback, Lena explains her philosophy. I know it's a wonderful technique, but I feel a certain resistance to artificially giving life to inanimate objects. She had admitted, when it comes to making one myself, I just can't bring myself to do it. Ryuji had smiled warmly. That's a very elf-like way of thinking, to value the natural order. Lena was taken aback by his understanding. We're a party, bound together now, he had told her. We'll cover each other's weaknesses, so don't ever hesitate to tell me what's on your mind. Touched, she had smiled gratefully. Yeah, thank you. The memory fades, and Ryuji grits his teeth in the present, furious that they have no way to prove their innocence. Minori loses her patience and shouts, I'm telling you, that magic core doesn't belong to Lena. But Ryuji cuts her off. Minori, be quiet for a moment. Prime Minister Elmar smirks with satisfaction. Normally this crime warrants execution, but I'll graciously reduce it to exile from the capital. Behave yourselves until then. We will be confiscating some of your belongings later. A guard approaches the Prime Minister. Your Excellency, he asks, regarding this incident, are His Majesty the King and Princess Tsetsiri aware of what's happened? Elmar's lips curl into a triumphant smirk. Of course, he sneers. His Majesty is also deeply disappointed. Hearing this, Ryuji's face darkens with barely contained fury. I understand, he grits out. Thank you. The Prime Minister leaves, and Ryuji collapses to his knees, seething in the silence of his cell. Lena, too, is left alone, curled up in despair. In their own cell, Minori turns to her sister. Suzu, did you notice it too? Something felt off. Suzu nods, her expression serious. Ryuji doesn't usually get that angry unless it involves one of us. That's how much Lena means to him now. A spark of defiance lights up Minori's eyes. You're right. Lena is our precious friend. We can't just sit here and let this happen. Lena, over here! A voice calls out from the darkness of the dungeon. Minori pulls Lena to her feet, her grip firm. None of this is your fault, Lena, so don't you dare look so defeated. Meanwhile, Suzu approaches her brother. Ryuji, you must have a plan, right? Just tell me what I need to do. The despair in Ryuji's eyes has vanished, replaced by a cold, predatory fire. You're right. Let's get the hell out of here. He lays out the first step of his plan. Suzu, try to contact Princess Tsetsiri with your telepathy. She immediately agrees. Far away, Suzu's magical message reaches out, but she grits her teeth in frustration. It's not working. Just as I thought, she reports. There's a magic barrier blocking all communication. Minori looks worried. So, what now? A confident smirk plays on Ryuji's lips. It's simple. We'll just have to crank up the power of the telepathy until their little barrier can't handle it anymore. A moment later, a decisive click echoes through the dungeon. The cell door swings open, revealing a frantic Princess Tetsuri and Dietrich. "Is everyone all right?" Ryuji thanks the princess for her help, while Dietrich apologizes profusely, admitting he had no idea how dire their situation truly was. Tetsuri explains that she should have been reported to immediately, but the guards on duty were kept completely in the dark. Ryuji's eyes narrow with cold certainty. It's clear someone is pulling the strings from the shadows, and that someone is Prime Minister Elmar. Holding the synthetic core from the golem, he ponders a single question. But why frame Lena, the alchemist? Ryuji's mind flashes back to a past conversation, a hypothetical scenario he posed to Lena. "Why are you so useless?" Suzu had joined in on the thought experiment, asking, "Is Lena the only one who's useless?" And now the chilling answer becomes clear. What if the true goal was simply to drive both Lena and alchemy itself out of the kingdom? Suzu realizes the implication. So, me too? Ryuji's theory solidifies. If Elmar's true goal was simply to drive them away, then the reason must be connected to the curse removal magic stone, and the curse afflicting the king himself. The pieces fall into place. By helping Princess Tetsuri, they unknowingly thwarted the Prime Minister's plans, and by returning to the capital, they've become an obstacle once again. Ryuji's eyes narrow with cold fury. That's why he wants us gone, to keep us away from the royal family for good. Back in the present, Tetsuri makes a decision. If the Prime Minister's actions are this serious, I will arrange a meeting with my father at once. But she warns them of the danger ahead. However, just like yesterday, the Prime Minister will be there. The princess and Dietrich look grim. The other nobles in the court are tense, because they'll be walking right into the Viper's den, facing Prime Minister Elmar himself. In the throne room, King Georg awaits them. I've heard everything from my daughter. It seems you've been through quite an ordeal. However, he continues, while I am indebted to you, I cannot accept your claims without question. You will prove your innocence here and now. Elmar steps forward to give his twisted version of events, claiming he rushed to the dungeon to assist the guards against an intruder. He presents the synthetic core as evidence, declaring the attacker was an alchemical golem, which made Lena the obvious suspect. The king asks Lena if this is true. Defeated, she can only confirm the basic facts of her arrest. King Georg then turns to the knight captain, Gotthalt, demanding to know why this major incident was never reported to the throne. But Elmar smoothly cuts in, promising to handle the investigation himself while condescendingly patting Gotthalt on the shoulder. The king reluctantly concedes the point. He then asks Elmar directly if he has any information, and the Prime Minister plays his part perfectly, feigning complete ignorance. Minori can't believe the audacity. He knows nothing? He's the one who came to our cell. Ryuji smirks to himself. Of course, a man like Elmar wouldn't show his weakness so easily. But for Ryuji and his family, this audience is an unexpected opportunity, a chance to turn the tables. All they need is one piece of evidence to prove the Prime Minister's involvement. But looking at Elmar's smug, confident expression, where is that confidence coming from? Suddenly, the entire throne room begins to shake violently. The king demands to know what all the commotion is. The marble floor cracks and shatters, as a colossal monster erupts from beneath them. Debris flies everywhere. It's a stone golem. Dietrich and Princess Tetsuri are stunned by the sudden attack. The captain of the knights yells in alarm as the king looks on grimly. Lena realizes with dawning horror, so this was his plan all along. She calls out to Ryuji in the chaos, but Ryuji is perfectly calm, his mind already piecing it together. A crude but direct approach. Across the room, Prime Minister Elmar smirks, thinking it's far easier to simply crush them than to bother with subtle schemes. His plan is simple. If Ryuji and his party are dead, the problem goes away. The stone golem smashes through the throne room wall, ready to carry out that order. A dark smile spreads across Ryuji's face. I see. In that case, there's no need for me to play games either. Elmar's face twists into a maniacal grin, confident that with their deaths, his problems will be over. As chaos erupts, Dietrich shields the princess. Lady Tetsuri, please evacuate! Knight Captain Gotthalt barks orders. Injured to the rear. All able-bodied men prepare to engage. But Ryuji cuts through the noise, shouting to his party, all three of you! Grab your equipment now! Minori doesn't hesitate for a second. Got it! With the royal knights forming a defensive line, Ryuji stands alone, calmly wondering just how effective his magic stones will be against this colossal foe. Even the king is ready for a fight, declaring, "Gotthalt, I'm joining you." But the knight captain quickly stops him. "Your Majesty, please stand down." Ryuji steps forward, addressing them both. With all due respect, this situation falls under the purview of adventurers. A sharp, confident smile plays on his lips. "Leave the golem in front to us. And Your Majesty," he adds, his eyes flicking towards the true threat, "please watch your back." The thinly veiled accusation hits its mark, and Prime Minister Elmar clicks his tongue in pure annoyance. With a deafening roar, the stone golem smashes through the throne room wall, barreling towards its targets. It looms over Ryuji, ready to crush him where he stands. But Ryuji doesn't even flinch, activating the magic stone of adamantine. The golem brings its colossal fist down. The impact shakes the entire room, kicking up a cloud of dust and debris. But Ryuji hasn't moved an inch. As the dust settles, the unbelievable truth is revealed. He's blocked the monster's attack with a single arm. He calmly deactivates the adamantine enchantment, the threat completely neutralized. Then, without missing a beat, he switches to offense, calling upon the magic stone of fuel. Placing a hand on the golem's body, he begins his counterattack. His power flows into the golem, but Ryuji realizes this is no ordinary monster. It's far tougher than the one from the castle, and its sheer size makes it impossible to simply topple. He prepares for a defensive battle, planning to hold out until his party returns, when suddenly a voice calls out, "Brother Ryuji!" It's Minori, Suzu, and Lenny, fully geared up and rushing to his side. "Sorry to keep you waiting." A confident smirk spreads across Ryuji's face. Perfect timing. He immediately starts giving orders. "Minori, come here." "Suzu, Lena!" As a massive enchantment circle appears, he lays out the plan. "I'm going to enchant Minori. You two, keep that golem busy." The two mages don't hesitate for a second, turning to face the colossal beast. "Right." Lene's eyes flash with power as she unleashes her attack. "Web of lightning, envelop that giant." Suzu follows suit, chanting her spell with fierce determination. "Oh, great god of magic, grant me the iron hammer to strike down that stone doll." Lena's spell slams into the golem, wrapping it in a crackling cage of pure electricity. Before the monster can even react, Suzu's spell, Mjolnir, the Thunder Emperor's hammer, comes crashing down with immense force. As the mages buy time, Ryuji gives his final order. "Once the enchantment is done, aim for its legs. We need to cripple its mobility." Minori replies, "Understood." But even their combined power is struggling to hold the beast. Lena pants, "Sorry, Suzu, I can't restrain it for much longer." Suzu just smiles, gathering even more power. "Oh, great god, grant a fragment of your power into my hands." The golem roars, weathering the storm. But Suzu isn't finished. "One more time." She unleashes a super Mjolnir, blasting the golem with an even more devastating wave of divine thunder. With the monster reeling, the now enchanted Minori steps forward, sword ready. "You two, switch out!" Minori's eyes burn with determination. "Now it's time for you to taste my skills." With a sharpness and penetration enchant, she drives her blade deep into the golem's leg. The stone shatters on impact. She doesn't let up, immediately pivoting to strike its other leg with another enchanted blow. Its legs completely buckle. And the colossal monster comes crashing down. Captain Gotthalt can hardly believe it. "All right, is it over?" But as the dust settles, the golem's fragments begin to shake and glow. Ryuji senses it immediately. The monster isn't dead. It's reforming right behind Lena. "Lena!" With no time to think, Ryuji grits his teeth. He lunges forward, shoving a stunned Lena out of the way. "Ryuji!" And takes the full bone-crushing impact of the golem's fist himself. The floor of the throne room explodes in a shower of stone and dust. As the debris settles, the girls rush to his side. "Ryuji, are you okay?" He's alive, but he's clearly in pain. "Ow, my whole body hurts," he groans, realizing his mistake. "I should have used adamantine sooner. This is much worse than I thought." Suzu immediately throws up a defensive barrier, shouting, "Of course it is." Minori looks at him with concern and gratitude. "Thank you for protecting her, but that was way too reckless." My bad," he grits out, forcing a smile through the pain. But Minori's focus is already back on their foe. "About what just happened?" "That golem's regeneration is terrifyingly fast," Ryuji confirms, watching the monster roar. His expression hardens. We have to stop it from moving or this will never end. As the golem smashes through the royal guards, he realizes their only option is to dodge its attacks and destroy the magic core. Dietrich, still protecting the princess, questions the plan. Wait, if we destroy the core, won't that be impossible? Suzu calmly replies from behind her barrier. I have an idea. She turns to their alchemist. Lena, do you have any oil among your potion ingredients? Lena blinks in confusion. Huh? Oil? Meanwhile, the knights can only watch in frustration. Against that size and hardness, pure swordsmanship is useless. Captain Gotthalt rallies his men, his voice ringing with conviction. Our duty now is to protect His Majesty and Princess Tsetserie and buy as much time as we can. Watching from the balcony, Princess Tsetserie's faith is absolute. By the looks of it, they have a plan. We must trust in Ryuji and his party. A single step forward. Despite his injuries, Ryuji stands before his team, his eyes blazing. Everyone ready? We're proceeding as planned. Minori gives a firm nod. Lena answers, her voice clear. Yes. Suzu locks in. Roger that. Forcing himself upright, Ryuji shouts a challenge, drawing the monster's gaze. Over here, you big oaf! He dashes to the side, his adamantine enchantment active as he narrowly evades a devastating punch that shatters the marble floor. With the golem's attention completely fixed on Ryuji, Lena and Suzu move into position, ready to unleash their combined might. Lena unleashes her spark web, ensnaring the colossal golem in a crackling net of pure electricity. At the same time, Minori brings her enchanted blade down with a furious cry. Now fall! Her strike shatters the golem's other leg, sending stone shrapnel flying everywhere. Trapped and crippled, the stone golem is completely helpless. Ryuji reveals their strategy. The impact from it falling shattered its body. Now. He hurls several vials of oil into the air, shouting, Suzu, it's all you! With a glint in her eye, Suzu begins her incantation. She unleashes a massive whirlwind, a vortex of raw power that engulfs the battlefield. The raging winds catch the oil, whipping it into the golem's fractured body, and begin to violently tear the monster apart from the inside out. The stone golem is utterly annihilated, exploding into a cloud of rubble and dust. The stones, they're not sticking together anymore? Captain Gotthalt asks in disbelief, while Princess Tsetserie recognizes the distinct smell of oil. Ryuji calmly confirms their observation. He explains that the golem's regeneration works by gathering the surrounding broken pieces to reform its body. That's why, he continues, we needed a spell that was both powerful and precise, like Suzu's whirlwind, to coat every single fragment. With the stones slicked with oil, they can no longer cling to each other, rendering the monster completely powerless. Lena and Minori praise Suzu for her brilliant plan, and the genius mage puffs out her chest with pride. With the threat neutralized, Ryuji asks Suzu what to do with the now exposed magic core. King Georg steps forward, offering to retrieve it himself. But suddenly, Prime Minister Elmar lunges forward in a panic, shouting, Your Majesty, you mustn't, it's still dangerous. Ryuji cuts him off with a single sharp command, Elmar, be quiet. The Prime Minister freezes, his face a mask of pure dread. As everyone stares at the core, a memory begins to surface. The core projects a vision of the past, a memory of a promise made to the royal family, a forgotten piece of history. But the memory shifts, revealing a more recent, sinister conversation. Yesterday's magic core was destroyed. We need a stronger golem. Captain Gotthalt's eyes widen in shock. The princess and her knight are equally horrified. Ryuji realizes the truth. Suzu's plan didn't just destroy the golem, it exposed the memory sealed within its core. The king turns to his prime minister, his voice dripping with ice. Elmar, explain this. But the traitor can only stammer, his web of lies finally unraveling. Cornered, Elmar makes one last desperate plea, screaming, It's a convenient illusion! Don't let them deceive you! The king's expression hardens. This is pathetic, Elmar. He explains that the magic used, retrospection, is a trusted tool for uncovering the truth in official trials. Even you must understand, the king says coldly, that this is irrefutable proof. With his judgment passed, the king points. Arrest him, and find his co-conspirator, the mad alchemist, immediately! With the traitor apprehended, the king personally sees the party off, apologizing for all the trouble they've endured. But Ryuji simply smiles, saying their names have been cleared and the royal family is welcome to use their workshop anytime. The king laughs, relieved. Of course, if anything else happens, I'll be counting on you. Just then, an attendant approaches with a letter for the king. The king hands Ryuji the letter, revealing it's the official plan to support the restoration of Zarushutat's port. Stunned, Ryuji accepts, saying this is more than enough of an apology. The king and Princess Tsetsuria share a relieved smile. As the party departs, the princess waves, declaring them the heroes who saved the country. Meanwhile, in a dark tavern, Elmar's alchemist co-conspirator seethes with rage. Having just escaped the dungeons, the fugitive knows the royal knights are already closing in. But he's not the only one feeling the heat. A sinister hooded figure mutters that things have gotten troublesome. Their thoughts are consumed by hatred for the meddlesome little adventurer who ruined everything. Deciding to flee, they slam their fist on the table, cursing Ryuji's name and wondering where he's gone. Meanwhile, at the Berserk Party headquarters, one of Guy's members tries to reason with him. "Leader, it's time to give up on Ryuji. We have a promise with the guildmaster to keep..." Guy's eyes narrow with contempt. He explodes in a rage, blaming them for his downfall. "Because of you, we've been demoted all the way down to 6th rank. With this rank's rewards, there's no way I can pay back the 500 gold coins I borrowed. And ever since that day, Marie has been completely uncooperative." A calm voice cuts through his rant. "You're a mess, adventurer." Guy whirls around, demanding, "Who the hell are you?" It's the mysterious hooded figure, who simply tells him, "Calm down." But their next words make Guy's ear twitch. "I heard you mention the name Ryuji. You know him?" "How much for information?" the figure asks. When Guy demands to know their goal, they simply reply, "I don't need money." A dark smile plays on their lips. "I too have a score to settle with that man." A malicious grin spreads across Guy's face. "All right, I'm listening." The hooded figure chuckles. "Good, that makes this quick. I have a simple request," the figure proposes, their voice dripping with venom. "In my stead, I want you to finish that man for me." Meanwhile, back at the workshop in Zarushutat, Ryuji lets out a satisfied sigh. He stretches, having completed another task. That should do it for now. A familiar voice calls out to him. It's Lena, who smiles brightly and says, "Lunch is almost ready. Could you please call everyone?" Ryuji smiles back warmly. "Got it." As he steps outside, he's greeted by the 2 orphaned elf sisters. "How are things going?" he asks. Rana and her sister beam, "Everything's going great." Rana explains that thanks to Turu's introduction, the Commerce Guild has been sending people to help with the harvest. Her younger sister happily adds that Minori and Suzu have been a huge help as well. Ryuji smiles, glad that his plan to introduce them to the Marquis of Lehina worked out. The sisters and the workers all express their heartfelt gratitude. "All right, everyone," Ryuji calls out. "Lunch is almost ready. Let's take a break." The younger sister cheers and runs off, with Rana reminding her to wash her hands first. Watching them go, Ryuji thinks to himself, everything's going smoothly. But this piece was hard-won. The scene flashes back to 1 week prior. Ryuji and Lena sit in an opulent room as a blonde nobleman apologizes for keeping them waiting. He introduces himself with a confident smile. "I am Walter von Lehina, a marquis granted this land by His Majesty the King." Ryuji formally introduces himself as a 2nd-rank adventurer and enchanter, with Lena adding that she is a 2nd-rank alchemist. The Marquis explains that the king has told him everything, from creating crops overnight to revitalizing the local market. He asks if they can do the same for other fields, but Ryuji explains that without a stable supply of the special magic stones, it's impossible. The Marquis sighs, revealing he's been receiving complaints from other farmers and has been struggling with how to handle the situation. Ryuji proposes a solution, using the Commerce Guild to recruit helpers for the other farms. He adds that with some conditions to ensure fair shipment volumes, they should be able to ease the income disparity. The Marquis strokes his chin, intrigued. "That's not a bad proposal," he muses. "I'll need to discuss it with the other farmers." Setting the matter aside for now, he gets to the main topic, the port. He looks out over the bustling harbor, thanking Ryuji for petitioning the king and finally getting the restoration underway. Ryuji smiles, replying that it's no trouble at all, as they will also benefit greatly once the distribution network is back online. The Marquis agrees. Lena adds that as an enchanter and an alchemist, they're in big trouble if they don't have customers to buy their magic stones and potions. The Marquis reveals the restoration is scheduled to be finished in 2 to 3 months, and Lena asks if that means they can resume overseas trade. Absolutely, he declares, explaining that with the king's full backing, they'll promote the port's revival and ensure it becomes the most prosperous in the entire region. The news brings a wave of hope to both Ryuji and Lena. As the days pass, Ryuji reflects on the whirlwind of recent events, starting with the request from Princess Tetsiri, leading to his duel with Guy in Beham, and the shocking uproar in the royal capital. And now, after all that, he's in business negotiations with Marquis von Lehina, finally working to rebuild. For the past 2 weeks, they've been fulfilling requests from the Commerce Guild. Ryuji focuses on crafting magic stones, while Lena has been able to dedicate herself to potion making. He sighs in contentment. This is the peaceful life he's always wanted. Meanwhile, Minori and Suzu handle their own requests and help out at the Elf Sisters' thriving farm, which has become a community effort. Once the port is restored and the economy stabilizes, Ryuji can finally live the quiet life he's been yearning for. But a strange sound breaks his concentration. He looks over to see Lena. He asks about the noise he keeps hearing lately, and she nervously replies that she's doing some combat training. Combat training? She then reveals what looks like a revolver, calling it an alchemy gun. Lena explains that during the fights with the goblin hero and the golem in the capital, she was completely reliant on Ryuji to save her. With a gentle smile, she says she just wants to be a little stronger. Their conversation is interrupted by Minori and Suzu, who call out to Lena. Minori reminds them it's time to go pick up the materials they ordered, and Lena agrees to get ready. Suzu asks if Ryuji is coming too, while Minori wonders if the Elf Sisters' farm will be all right. But Rana assures them the Commerce Guild sent extra help, so everything is under control. Minori is itching for some action, and even Suzu agrees that a mage needs to stay active. After gathering a basket full of herbs and flowers, they're satisfied. Ryuji asks if they need anything else, and Lena suggests they stop by the saltwater lake since they're out of salt. But as she says the words saltwater lake, the mood instantly darkens. Suzu's face drains of all color, her eyes wide with pure terror. Ryuji is instantly on high alert. Lena is just as shocked. Even Minori feels the sudden chill. What was that? Minori asks. I just got a really bad feeling. Ryuji feels it too, a deep sense of unease stirring in his chest. Suzu turns to him, her voice trembling. Ryuji, she says with grim certainty, I think we should head back, right now. Seeing the genuine fear in her eyes, he immediately agrees. Let's go, she yells. I have a terrible feeling about this. As the entire party breaks into a dead sprint back towards town, they arrive to a scene that stops them cold, their faces a mask of shock and disbelief. Suzu's premonition was horrifyingly accurate. The Elf Sisters' field is a scene of devastation, with unconscious bodies from the Commerce Guild scattered across the ground. What in the world happened here? Ryuji gasps before Suzu points a trembling finger. Ryuji, look! It's the shattered remains of Spriggan, the guardian golem Ryuji created. He thinks to himself that even a basic mud golem, once enchanted by him, shouldn't have been destroyed so easily. The younger elf sister rushes to one of the injured men. Are you all right? Your injuries? Her eyes wide with terror, she cries out, Rana! They took Rana! Ryuji's face hardens. Taken? By who? The injured man can only shake his head, saying he doesn't know. He explains, 3 adventurers just showed up. We tried to protect them, but we couldn't even fight back. I'm so sorry. 3 adventurers. A cold, dawning fury spreads across Ryuji's face. Ah, I see. The man then holds out a piece of paper. A large man told me to give this to you. Minori takes the note, her eyes widening in shock. This handwriting? The crude, forceful scrawl is unmistakable. A low, guttural sound escapes Ryuji's throat. His face contorts into a mask of pure, unadulterated rage as he spits out the name. Guy! They follow the trail of destruction to a ruined part of the city. And there, sitting amidst the rubble, is Guy. Took you long enough, he sneers. Ryuji's voice is dangerously calm. I don't know how you found our hideout. But give back Rana and her sister, where are they? A tall, red-haired woman steps out from behind a pillar, the 2 terrified elf sisters held in front of her. They're right here, she says coolly. Both of them are fine. Rana's eyes fill with tears of relief and terror. Ryuji? Guy turns to his accomplice, sneering. Stop doing unnecessary things, Marie. Marie, her face bruised, looks back in shock. Wasn't being beaten by you enough? Minori shields the terrified elf sister, her voice trembling with rage. Unnecessary? You're using a child as a shield. I can't bear to watch this. Lene stares, a horrifying realization dawning on her. Marie? Guy simply clicks his tongue, completely unconcerned. Even Sean, another former Berserk member, looks fed up. It seems Marie and I have no intention of helping you this time. Ryuji's gaze is like ice as he addresses the true mastermind in the shadows. I never trusted you, but I didn't think you'd break your promise so easily. What is your objective? Money? Guy looks genuinely baffled by the question. Money! A low, sinister chuckle echoes from the darkness. The mysterious hooded figure spreads their arms wide, mocking them. Money? Ah, that's right. I owe Marie a debt, don't I? I'd completely forgotten. Ryuji is completely thrown. Huh? Marie explodes with rage. What do you mean you forgot? You'd better pay me back or I'm cutting all ties with you for good. The figure's presence is deeply unsettling, their face twisting into a mask of deranged joy. Ryuji cuts through the noise, his voice cold and steady. If it's not about money, then why did you kidnap them? I don't understand your goal. A chilling smile creeps across the figure's face. Ah, it's simple, the figure says, and in a flash, a shadowy claw shoots out, aimed right at Ryuji. Ryuji's instincts take over as he shoves Lena out of the blast radius. A powerful explosion erupts, shattering the stone beneath them. They hit the ground hard, Ryuji grunting from the impact. Sorry, Lena, he pants, looking up at her. Are you okay? Ryuji grits his teeth in pain, his hand smoking from the blast. Minori Suzu! They shout, rushing forward as the hooded figure stands menacingly in their path. Guy's face contorts with insane glee. My goal, he cackles, was to lure you all here. You who've been such a hypocrite to me. He snarls, the image of his hand choking Marie flashing through his mind. Oi will become a sacrifice to my power, he screams, his rage now directed at his own sister, Minori. Damn it, Ryuji growls, forcing himself up. He lunges forward in a blur of motion, roaring, Let them go! But the hooded figure intercepts him with a familiar power, a shield erupting from the magic stone of fuel. The force throws Ryuji back. Are you two all right? Lena asks, rushing to his side. Somehow. He coughs. He stares at his arm, a strange sensation lingering from the impact. The feel of flesh. This guy, is he wearing some kind of armor? From the shadows, the hooded figure scoffs, Ha! As if that would work. But Ryuji's gaze snaps past him, a look of shock on his face. That form? It's Guy. He's thrown off his cloak, revealing a magic stone embedded in his chest. You turned yourself into a chimera? Ryuji yells in disbelief. A crazed grin spreads across Guy's face. Correct answer. Guy? Ryuji mutters, horrified. I always knew you were an idiot, but... to go this far... The scene widens, revealing Guy isn't just transformed. He's pinning his own accomplice, Marie, to the ground. He sneers down at her. What's wrong? Overwhelmed by my power? Did you lose? She struggles against his grip. Overwhelmed? It was a surprise attack, she snarls. You just caught me off guard. Guy slams her into the rubble with brutal force. Don't resist me, you loser! Ryuji watches in horror. Unfazed, Guy grabs a massive slab of rubble and smashes it down on Marie again, sneering, It's useless! But before the blow can land, Minori intercepts it, blocking the massive slab with her sword. Suzu rushes to her side. Are you okay? Minori winces. I thought I was a goner. Glad you're all right. A sinister voice cuts through the air. Do you really have time for a chat? The sisters look up, startled. Guy's face twists into a psychotic grin. No, those are their last words, because they're about to die. I won't let you, Ryuji roars. He lunges forward, slamming the power of the magic stone of fuel into the hooded figure's barrier. Ryuji pours every ounce of his rage into the attack, but the hooded figure catches his fuel-enchanted fist with a single hand. This willpower, it's beyond human, they muse, a flicker of recognition in their eyes. I know that face. A memory flashes through their mind, a past confrontation where they taunted Ryuji. Your power is nothing compared to mine. The figure then turns their chilling gaze to Minori, mocking, a genius swordsman? And then to Suzu, a genius mage? You think you can do anything with enchantments and magic stones, all thanks to the power of your precious big brother. But right now, in this very moment, you are both inferior to me. Their face twists into a mask of pure insanity as they shriek, "Do you understand? You're nothing but small fry!" The pressure on Ryuji's fist becomes unbearable as the figure declares, "First, I'll crush this hand. Then," they continue, "I'll plant my left foot right in your face." A crazed grin spreads across their face. "After I've crushed all 4 of your limbs, I'll butcher your precious little sisters right in front of your paralyzed body." A guttural roar of fury escapes Ryuji's lips. The kidnapped elf sisters watch in horror. But before the figure can finish, Ryuji's captured hand explodes in a violent burst of blood and dark power. The hooded figure's eye widens in genuine surprise. "Huh?" Suddenly, Lena steps forward, aiming her glowing alchemy gun and demanding, "Let go of Ryuji!" From the ground, Marie stares in shock. "Lena! What are you doing?" Lena's voice is filled with desperation. "I know I can't win against you. I know that! But I have to try." Lena looks at her former partner with a sad smile. "Because, Marie, you knew what would happen. And you still fought to protect those two, didn't you?" The hooded figure scoffs in disgust. "So what? Just another insect in the way?" Realizing the immediate danger, Marie screams, "Lena! Get away!" In a blur of motion, the figure lunges. They loom over the elf, their face a twisted mask of rage. "Fine! If you want to die so badly, you can go first!" But as their hand shoots forward, a swirling vortex of dark energy erupts from Lena, blocking the lethal blow. Lena herself is completely baffled. "Eh?" The hooded figure is engulfed by the strange power, their body crackling as they're violently pushed back. Suzu and Minori can only watch in confusion. "What? Something's happening." Even Marie tries to comfort the terrified elf sisters, telling them it's going to be okay. Sean stares in disbelief. "Leader?" Ryuji is just as stunned. "Guy?" The dark vortex tears into the hooded figure, their body contorting as they scream in agony. What is this?" Their form begins to dissolve into black smoke and dust, engulfed completely. Sean looks down at the empty cloak on the ground, calling out in panic, "Hey! Leader!" But Guy screams at him, "Sean, don't you dare get any closer!" Lena stares at her hand, still swirling with dark energy, completely baffled. "Huh? What was that?" At the same time, Guy lets out a blood-curdling scream of agony. Seizing the opportunity, Marie turns to the terrified elf sisters. "Both of you run! Just go!" she screams with desperate urgency. The younger sister grabs Rana's hand, pulling her to safety. Marie calls out to her former partner. With a pained smile, she entrusts the sisters to Lena. "Please, take care of them." Lena and the young elf stare back, stunned by Marie's apparent sacrifice. "Marie!" Marie rises, turning her back to them to face Guy alone. And then, as a dark pattern spreads across her body, she lets out a horrifying scream. Lena screams out in horror, "Marie!" The rest of the party can only watch, completely bewildered. What's going on?" Suzu asks. A sphere of pure darkness erupts from Marie's position, and Ryuji realizes the horrifying truth. It's probably the magic core Guy embedded. It's going berserk. Suzu's eyes widen in alarm. "And that smoke? It's a deadly poison. Don't even think about getting close." She explains that any living thing caught within that miasma will be forcibly mutated and twisted into a chimera. As the smoke clears, Minori stares in disbelief at the new monster. "Guy!" Meanwhile, the elf sisters tug on Lena's sleeve, asking, "What about our big sister? What happened to her?" Putting on a brave face, Lena kneels down to comfort them. It's going to be okay. We'll definitely save her." Wiping away her tears, Lena hardens her resolve. Suzu turns to Ryuji with a clear objective. "Let's destroy his magic core," Lena adds with urgency. "His transformation just finished. If we act now, we can still make it." Ryuji's focus sharpens. "Yeah, you're right." Minori grips her weapon, ready for battle. With their plan set, the party springs into action. "Minori, Suzu, let's go!" Lena shouts, shielding the sisters as the others move out. Lena begins her incantation. "Oh, Holy Spirit of the Earth, loosen the footing of that grotesque form." Suzu joins in, chanting, "Oh, great God of magic, grant me the mistletoe to stop that abomination." Their spells combine, unleashing Mud Swamp and Mistletoe Branch upon the monstrous guy. The chimera roars as the earth turns to sludge and dark. Thorny branches erupt to ensnare him. But the monster is far from finished. Before it can break free, Minori rushes in, her enchanted sword glowing as she shouts, "Penetrate!" With fierce determination, she slices clean through the chimera's shadowy form. But her attack has no effect. Minori grits her teeth. It's too fast, too tough, and it regenerates instantly. Ryuji realizes their old strategy won't work. Just like with the golem, trying to stop it first and then break the core will be too difficult. That's when Lena steps forward, revealing her secret weapon. Then let's aim for the core directly, from a distance. She holds out her alchemy gun. "Ryuji-san, please enchant my gun!" Her eyes burn with a new resolve. Ryuji looks on, stunned by her growth and bravery. "Lena," a flicker of surprise gives way to a steely gaze as Ryuji agrees. "Yeah, let's do it." With the new plan set, Minori and Suzu leap into action, creating a desperate diversion. Suzu begins a powerful incantation. "O great god of magic, grant me a fragment of your power, a hammer to strike down that abomination." Minori screams at her brother as she attacks. "Guy, stop this madness!" Suzu's spell, Hammer of the Thunder Emperor, slams into the chimera's shadowy form. He groans in pain, but retaliates with a furious roar, swatting Minori away like a fly. As they regroup, Suzu notes dryly, "Even as a chimera, he's just as stubborn as ever," while Minori insists she can keep fighting. Minori plants her feet firmly. "We'll buy time until you two are ready. We'll hold him no matter what." As they hold the line, Ryuji begins the enchantment. "In my name, become a blade that can pierce anything. Sharpness." Ryuji listens intently. As Lene speaks, her voice filled with sorrow. "She said some terrible things to me, but Marie was never really like that." In a flashback, she remembers a different Marie, one who was proud to be a priestess and always looked toward her dreams as an adventurer. She was the one who invited me to form a party, telling me her goal was to help people in need. Marie had believed that with Lene's alchemy, they could save even more lives together. Back in the present, Lene's resolve hardens. No matter what's happened, she's still a precious friend to me. Her words resonate deeply with Ryuji. As the enchantment flares, he looks up with grim understanding. "We're similar, you and I," he recalls his own former party. "They were infuriating, but they were still my companions. I never wished this kind of fate upon them." "So," Ryuji's voice is grim. Lene's agreement is firm. "Yes." As the enchantment flares, their shared resolve is forged. "We have to save her." Lene remembers the kind priestess Marie used to be, and Ryuji recalls his own complicated feelings for his former party. That's why... "Oh, we must." Their purpose is absolute, even as the chimera's hateful eyes lock onto its prey. On the front lines, the diversion turns brutal as Guy swats Minori away like a fly. With a monstrous roar, the chimera lashes out again, its raw power overwhelming. But the sisters stand their ground, back to back. "Suzu, right!" Suzu unleashes a new spell, trapping the chimera in a crackling spark web. "The monster is caught!" It roars in agony as the electricity tears through its shadowy form. But with a furious scream, it begins to break free. "It's useless!" Minori charges in again, refusing to give it a moment's rest. But the monster's body simply dissolves and reforms, its regeneration seemingly unstoppable. Minori watches in disbelief. "It's regenerating again!" Her expression hardens with grim determination. "I won't let you." Realizing they need more firepower, Suzu raises her staff to the heavens, beginning a massive incantation. "O great god of magic, lend me a fragment of your power." She unleashes her spell, Mistletoe Branch! Dark, thorny vines erupt from the ground, piercing and ensnaring the chimera. The monster is completely bound. Minori and Suzu watch as their brother is held fast, finally immobilized. The enchantment is complete. Ryuji turns to Lena, his hand still glowing. "Now, Lena!" With unwavering resolve, Lin raises her weapon. "Marie, I'm saving you right now!" She pulls the trigger. The chimera looks up, sensing the incoming danger just a moment too late. The enchanted bullet flies true, aimed directly at the glowing core in its chest. With the sharpness Ryuji gave it, this gun can pierce through. The bullet slams directly into its target. A sickening crack echoes as the core shatters. The chimera lets out a final, agonizing scream as the core explodes in a shower of dark energy. Minori breathes a sigh of relief. We did it. With this. Gei's monstrous form begins to dissolve into smoke, but Suzu's eyes widen in disbelief. No way. Could it be? Deep within the dissipating miasma, the shattered fragments of the magic core begin to glow, pulling themselves back together. Lena screams out in warning, Ryuji! She watches in horror. As the light intensifies, from the swirling darkness, Guy's voice echoes, Not yet. Not yet. As his body begins to violently reform around the regenerating core. But a calm voice cuts through the chaos. No, Ryuji says, stepping forward with cold resolve. It's over. I won't give you a chance to regenerate, Ryuji declares, his voice cutting through the monster's roar. I trusted that Lena's shot would create the opening I needed, he thinks, his eyes blazing with certainty. This is my win. He lunges forward, unleashing the power of a new artifact, the magic stone of Ansbal. His fist plunges directly into the reforming core. Lena's bullet created a fissure, a weakness, and I'm going to tear it apart from the inside. The magic stone's power floods the core, overloading its regenerative properties. Dark energy erupts from Guy's body as the very magic holding him together begins to violently unravel. His monstrous form crumbles, dissolving into nothingness before Ryuji's cold gaze. Lena and Minori can only stare down in stunned silence. The battle is finally truly over. As the dust settles, Lena's eyes flutter open. She rushes to Marie's side, cradling her friend and whispering, Marie, I'm so glad. Marie slowly comes to, weakly saying Lena's name. Are you okay? Lena asks, her voice filled with concern. Marie hesitates. Yeah, but... Her gaze shifts to Ryuji, slumped against the rubble, surrounded by his sisters. You're the one who looks like you're in serious condition. Ryuji grits his teeth, explaining the price of his victory, the recoil from the magic stone of Ansbal, which grants ultimate power at a terrible cost. The pain is so intense he can barely move, let alone speak. Marie stands, confronting him. Why would you go so far for us after we did such horrible things to you? But she cuts herself off, her expression turning serious. No. More importantly, there's something I have to tell you. Lena kneels, apologizing to Marie, who simply says, Thank you for saving me, and I'm sorry. Marie recalls a memory of Sean, beaten and bruised, trying to reason with Guy, saying, I'll apologize for both of them. But Lena cuts in with a sharp, urgent question. Marie, tell me one thing. That synthetic magic core, where did Guy get it? Marie's eyes widen as she reveals the truth. In Roudinger. It was given to him by a man who holds a grudge against you. Suzu gasps, the horrifying realization dawning on her. A grudge? You mean Elmar's accomplice? I thought he was a fugitive who escaped prison. She remembers the chaos after the golem attack, how the guards had supposedly arrested the alchemist. With the warning delivered, Marie turns to the elf sisters. I am so sorry for putting you through such a terrifying ordeal. But Rana just shakes her head. The sisters smile gratefully, telling Marie, Thank you for protecting us from that man. Marie is stunned by their kindness. The sisters embrace her, their forgiveness washing away her guilt in a single, heartfelt hug. 2 months later, the port of Zarushutat is alive once more, bustling with trade and celebration. Minori is ecstatic, already deciding on grilled squid, while the elf sisters point out all the delicious fish at the market stalls. Ryuji sighs at their boundless energy, but Lena just laughs, reminding him that this is a festival to celebrate the port's restoration, and they should enjoy it. Besides, she adds with a bright smile, the port was restored so quickly, it's wonderful. Ryuji can only agree, looking out at the revitalized city. He recalls how after the battle with Guy, Marie had renegotiated her contract, proving that she could finally be trusted. This time, Ryuji thinks to himself, a rare, peaceful smile on his face. We've finally earned some peace. I'll enjoy this festival to the fullest, just like Lena said. But his quiet moment is interrupted when a local craftsman spots him in the crowd and calls out his name. The man thanks Ryuji profusely, explaining that a magic stone he provided has made his work much easier. His wife then spots Lena and thanks her for a potion that cured her husband's terrible back pain. As a token of their gratitude, they press gifts into their hands. Suddenly, they're swarmed by other grateful townspeople, all showering them with thanks and presents for helping to save their city. Minori and Suzu can only watch in awe at the sheer amount of goodwill being directed at their friends. Reunited with Minori, Suzu, and the now safe elf sisters, the party finally gets to enjoy the fruits of their labor. A city reborn and filled with joy. Their celebration is interrupted by a familiar, cheerful voice calling out from the crowd. It's Marquis Walter von Lehena, who smiles warmly and declares that all of this newfound prosperity is thanks to them. Marquis von Lehena also thanks the elf sisters, acknowledging the vital role their farm played. He explains that thanks to their harvest, the market is thriving, and asks for their continued cooperation. The sisters happily agree. The Marquis then turns his attention back to Ryuji and Lena. He invites them to his mansion once the festival has concluded. With a sly smile, he promises he has something interesting to show them. Later at the mansion, they're greeted by a very familiar face. Princess Tsetsurie. Lena is completely stunned, stammering, "Your Highness, the princess?" Tsetsurie just smiles and insists they call her by her first name, much to Ryuji's surprise. She explains that she came to inspect the newly restored port and was impressed by the quality of produce flowing through the city. She notes that everyone seems so much healthier now. Turning to them with a warm smile, she says, "And I have you two to thank for that, don't I?" Ryuji humbly agrees. The princess listens intently. But the pressure is on. Ryuji explains that unfortunately, he can't replicate the magic stone that revitalized the elf farm, which Tsetsurie admits is a shame. But Ryuji was expecting this, his expression hardening as he reveals his true plan. Lena can create a medicine to improve the quality of any field. He explains that since the medicine is already in use in Zarushutat, its effects are proven, and it can be tailored to any soil condition. Tsetsurie is intrigued but points out a major flaw. Preparing that much medicine for the entire kingdom would be a monumental task. With a confident smirk, Ryuji replies, "That's where you come in, Your Highness." He then dramatically presents a document announcing, "Behold, Lena's soil improvement recipe and its complete application method." Leaving Lena utterly stunned, she panics, asking why he has that, but Ryuji just smiles, reminding her they once discussed selling the recipe to fund their workshop. He then challenges her directly, asking if she truly lacks confidence in her own medicine, especially after it's already been used to help the king. His words hit home. Lena fires back that this is different. She can't take on such an irresponsible task, reminding him that her medicine is the only reason he survived the recoil from the magic stone of Ansbal. Ryuji just listens to her passionate outburst. But then Lena's anger fades as she remembers something important he once told her. She recalls the day they first met, when Ryuji looked her in the eyes and said, "As a fellow artisan, I was captivated by your work." He had proposed that they combine their skills as an enchanter and an alchemist, working together as Altina to show the world what they could create. Their shared dream, to use their creations to brighten the future for as many people as they possibly could. He asks her, "Isn't that the best dream we could have?" With tears in her eyes, Lena quietly agrees. It is. Her doubt vanishes, replaced by a radiant smile as she fully embraces their shared ambition. Princess Tsetsurie, seeing Lena's renewed resolve, commits the crown's resources, stating that with the royal castle's top-tier facilities and skilled alchemists, Lena's recipe will undoubtedly revolutionize the kingdom's agriculture. Ryuji smirks, his plan having come together perfectly. The princess addresses Lena directly. She formally requests that Lena share the details of her groundbreaking recipe. With a deep, respectful bow, Lena eagerly accepts the monumental task. And so, a new chapter begins under the light of the moon. Sometime later, the artisans and their friends walk through the bustling streets of Zarushutat, their family now bigger and their future brighter than ever. As they walk, Ryuji looks up, contemplating the vast future they've just unlocked. He muses that with the Barun mine reopened, the flow of magic stones will bring a new wave of prosperity to the restored port. And as Lena's medicine spreads across the land, it will surely create an even better future for the entire kingdom. He knows there will be challenges, but he's confident that their party can handle anything. Minori notices his good mood, and Ryuji admits that just thinking about what's to come makes his heart race with excitement. With a confident wink, he declares that for artisans like them, the greatest happiness comes from creating the things they love. Lena winks back in agreement. Minori smiles warmly, and Suzu's heart is full. Under the moonlight, Ryuji asks his sisters to help him gather materials, and they eagerly agree, ready for the next adventure. Ryuji then brings up a practical matter. Now that their workshop is officially running, they're going to need a sign. Minori excitedly volunteers to draw the picture for it. But Suzu immediately shoots her down, deadpanning that Minori's art is so bad it summons evil spirits. A stunned Lena can only ask what kind of cursed drawings she's talking about. And so, with their bond stronger than ever and a bright future ahead, the party, the artisans, walks forward, ready for whatever comes next.